across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good evening, this is Petrie here with you at 10 o'clock, and I can announce today that for the foreseeable future I will be starting at 10 o'clock, so back to schedule as normal, so 10 till 1 from now on. So there you go. We knew we'd get there in the end, and thank you to all of you who I know contacted the bosses as well. So thank you for that. We're back at 10 till 1, and I mean, who knows what happens in the future? I don't know, but I can tell you that officially today. Right, coming up today, of course, we've got the phone in at midnight, and look, because it's a Wednesday and there's so much heavy stuff around at the moment, I thought that we'd do a slightly lighter topic. I could ask you about Greenland and Trump, but I've decided instead, because it's Wednesday, to ask you about Meghan Markle, which is very unusual for me, and I know that because I never mention her name. And I never mention her name because I just don't care about her. But I do wonder if she should be afforded the luxury of returning to the UK. And the reason I asked that question is because that is indeed what she is planning to do. So it's for the Invictus Games. And I just wanted to get a measure, because some people are suggesting this is her testing the market. I think they've had enough of America. I think America's had enough of them, of Harry and Meghan, and they need to re-establish their royal credentials. So under what circumstances would they be welcome to come back to the UK? Maybe you think that they should just come back anyway. I mean, those grandchildren, I don't think have ever met Charles, so they've never met their granddad. So that's really sad, isn't it? So I just wonder, would she be welcome, I think, is the question. Would you welcome Meghan Markle back to the UK, and Harry for that matter? Look, we know that they've completely let us down. They've called us, all, as a country, they've called us racist and all sorts of names. I'm not one for forgiving. I'm not very good at forgiving. If you cross a line with me, not really any way back. But maybe you are, and maybe you think, no, that their rightful place is here. And would they be welcomed back into the royal fold? Should they if they are here, if they do come back here, should they be encouraged to take up royal duties? So that's really what I want to talk to you about. And I know it's an unusual story for me to even contemplate, but I do think that we all have a view on Meghan Markle and Prince Harry as to whether, as to what they've done, after what they've done to us, would we welcome them back? I think that is what the question is. And do you think that they should come back? I can only imagine there's a bit of trauma going on in the US at the moment, that they're thinking perhaps we should just go back to the UK. So let's talk about that at midnight. Give me a call. Let me know what you think. Maybe you've welcomed an estranged member of your family back and it worked out really well, or it didn't work out at all. I'd love to hear from you on this. The number you need for midnight is 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at national rate, but we do call you straight back. And text the word talk and your message to 87222. Call now if you want to, and we'll get you on the board and make sure that you get through. We're quite busy at midnight, so do that. So that's coming up at midnight. Before that, we have Estella Chadikido coming in, former Labour aide, coming in to go through the front pages of the papers. I wonder if we'll mention Keir Starmer. Quite possibly. Stephen D. Wright joins us as well, and this is really interesting one. This is a story today saying that for the first time YouTube had overtaken the BBC in terms of popularity, in terms of people watching television. So I want to figure out why it is people are watching television in a different way. I mean, if you're watching me now, you're probably watching on YouTube, I guess, or tell me where you're watching it actually, if you are watching it. So you know, we all turn to, I don't really watch terrestrial television anymore, do you? So we'll be looking into that as to why our habits are changing. We're going to be talking about water and what the future of water should be as we look at households in Kent and Sussex, still thousands of them without water. So we'll be talking about that as well. But before that, huge number of geopolitical and foreign stories that we absolutely have no choice but to cover. Tonight, the British Embassy in Iran has been temporarily closed while UK and US troops are being pulled out of key Middle East military bases after the US and Iran have exchanged heated threats. Donald Trump tonight said that executions in Iran have stopped. I don't know how he knows that. He said that he would take a very strong action should Tehran execute protesters, while Iran promised revenge if any attacks were to take place. Well, I don't know what he means by execute protesters, because there are thousands and thousands of protesters dead that have been fundamentally executed. Meanwhile, the Danish and Greenlandic foreign ministers have been received at the White House. Speaking at a press conference shortly after, they said that fundamental disagreements remain after frank talks, which is code for strong words were exchanged, but nothing has changed. And in the Middle East, phase 2 of Trump's 20-point ceasefire plan to end the conflict in Gaza has now been launched. So an awful lot of stuff going on around the world, and the one common denominator in them is Donald Trump. Earlier on today, Trump was asked about Denmark and Greenland, and was told that the Premier had said, we'd rather be a part of Europe, not America. This is what he had to say about it.
The Premier of Greenland said today, we prefer to stay with Denmark. Do you see that as the final word? That? The Premier of Greenland.
Well, that's their problem. That's their problem. I disagree with him. I don't know who he is, don't know anything about him, but that's going to be a big problem for him.
Embarrassing. He doesn't even know who he is. Jamil Jafar joins me now, Executive Director at the National Security Institute at George Mason University in Washington, D.C. Jamil, it's wonderful to see you, and Happy New Year, I guess. We can still do that.
Happy New Year, yes. Happy holidays, all the things.
Happy holidays, all of those things.
All the things, yes.
What's going on in the White House?
Well, I mean, if I knew what was going on in the White House, I'd be a multimillionaire. I don't think anybody, and maybe even the president, on any given day doesn't know what's going on in the White House, because he's, running and gunning. He's playing it by the minute, by the hour, by the day. What I have heard is that a lot of senior cabinet officials are spending more time, and have over the last year, spending more time around the White House rather than back at their home agencies, State Department, Commerce, whatever it might be, because the way the president operates is he decides he wants to have a meeting, talk about an issue, make some decisions. And so if you're not there, you might miss out on the meeting. And so you want to be there. And so there's a lot of cabinet officials and their senior staff hanging around trying to figure out what's happening next and what the president wants to talk about. And you've seen that in real time. You see the president making decisions constantly on foreign policy, on national security and the like. There is some planning. Obviously, this Venezuela operation took some significant planning. And there are these meetings, as we found out just yesterday. The president had a long briefing on Iran, the current state of play, and is teeing up some decisions. So we know there is a something of a decision-making process, but a lot of it does seem to be the president wants to make a move. He wants people to get in conversations. He wants to take action. He's making decisions, and he's executing. The one other thing, and I'll stop here, Petrie, I did hear from a friend of a friend that there was a CEO who was doing some sort of deal with the administration. He's talking to the president directly about the issue, and the CEO says to the president, "Well, Mr. President, who on your staff should my team, or who should I work with?" And the president said, "Me. Call me when we want to talk about this, and we'll work it out." So I think a lot of this is very personal, and he's really running the operation, sort of, as a CEO would, more than a typical president with the large bureaucracy around him.
Well, I mean, and that's not democracy. That's not how the world runs, right? He's not a king. He's not a dictator. There are people around him. There are guardrails. There is Congress. The idea that he could arbitrarily fire on Iran without at least putting it to people in Congress is frankly terrifying, because if one man just makes that decision, then where are the guardrails? Where are the grown-ups in the room saying, look, if you attack Iran, this, and this will happen?
Sure. Well, a few things to say about that. One, as the president of the United States, you're right, he's not a king, he's democratically elected, but there's no requirement that the president have a particular process by which he makes decisions, right? The president is entitled to bring in whomever from his cabinet he wants, whatever staff he wants, consult them, and then make decisions if they're within the ambit of his presidency. Now, you're right that there's this tension in the U.S. Constitution between the authorities of the president, particularly in national security areas where he's commander-in-chief and has the, quote, the executive power, and Congress, which has the power, for example, to declare war, to raise and support armies, to provide its advice and consent, at least the Senate, on treaties. The Senate provides advice and consent on ambassadors. Right? There's a lot of authority the president has where he doesn't have to necessarily ask Congress for permission. He does have to ask them for money and get money from them to take action. But a lot of times that money is appropriated ahead of time. The president can move it around if he wants to.
But in his last administration, he wasn't surrounded by his loyalists, people who are not qualified. Pete Hegseth is not qualified to be the Secretary of Defense. I refuse to change that name just because the boys are playing. So he's not. There's no qualification there. Other people, Kristi Noem, not qualified. All of these people are loyalists. So there isn't a grown-up in the room, because they're all just saying yes to him, right?
Yeah. I'm not going to. So look, the president can pick his cabinet members. The Senate has to confirm them. They have confirmed all these nominees. Whether that was the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do, the president, has his cabinet, and whether they're loyalists or there's not an adult in the room. At the end of the day, the president does get to decide who makes decisions for the executive branch. Ultimately, he or she has the authority to act. You're right that it's traditionally been the case that the president has had a variety of advisors around him, and that those advisors may have had different viewpoints, and that this administration may be different in the sense that it is very focused on the person of Donald Trump. We've seen the cabinet meetings that are sort of almost like scenes out of a movie where they're all praising the president,
yeah, they're not
and lavishing heaps of praise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we've all seen that, no doubt. And so we can debate whether that means the adults are in the room or not in the room, right? And I'm sure everybody has a point of view on that. But at the end of the day, that's not a requirement of democracy, right? It's not a requirement of the American system that the president have 8 cabinet officials who he consults with who are quote unquote adults in your view or my view, and he takes their advice and he acts on their advice, right? At the end of the day, the American constitutional system works. The president's elected for 4 years. He has certain authorities that come with that office. He has to work with Congress if he wants to get something done through them with funding or the like. And the part of the problem here is Congress, in many ways, is asleep at the switch. It's not doing its job effectively. No. Hasn't been, frankly, for a number of years, right? I mean, let's be honest. President Obama and President Biden, both former U.S. senators, both members of the Foreign Relations Committee, repeatedly ran over the Senate and the House on matters of national security and foreign policy. President Obama famously ignored the law when he handed over the 5 Taliban senior officials to get Bo Bergdahl back. President Biden went to war and conducted strikes against. Well, President Obama conducted strikes in Libya, right? President Biden withdrew from Afghanistan. I mean, there were a lot of things that both presidents, former senators did without Congress's assistance. Is President Trump more aggressive? Venezuela, certainly an interesting move. The threats against Greenland, right? These are all things. You're right. There's no doubt this is a very assertive executive. Is it illegal? Is it problematic? A lot of that will be decided in the ballot box.
Is it illegal to invade a sovereign nation? Yes.
Well, so let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about U.S. domestic law, and then let's talk about foreign relations law and international law.
What I'm talking about, what has got us nervous in this side of the world, because there is another side of the world. I know America thinks that with that exceptionalism that there is no other part of the world, but certainly us here are very concerned about his threats against Greenland. That is a sovereign nation, that is a NATO member, and he's talking about invading it. Is that legal?
Is it? Well, it would violate the NATO treaty, right? Because we've agreed, we've sort of entered into a pact to not attack one another, so it would violate the NATO treaty. Is it illegal to threaten it? It's not illegal to threaten it, right?
No, we're not. I'm not. You know, I'm not saying that. Is it illegal to do it?
Well, it would violate the treaty, so we'd be breaking the treaty. But
that's not what I'm asking.
People get on treaties all the time.
We know that. We know that. But is it illegal to invade a sovereign nation with whom you are not at war, with whom there is absolutely no problem, and with whom has agreements with you to put as many soldiers as you like on that island, but you've chosen not to? Would it be an illegal move for America to snatch Greenland from Denmark?
I think it would have real legal problems, the same way we've raised concerns about Ukraine, right? That the Russians invaded Ukraine, a sovereign nation, and taken that land. Now,
yeah, that's also illegal.
Right. I think the Venezuela operation is a different story, so we can talk about why Venezuela is different than what happened in Greenland or happened in Ukraine. We can talk about that, right? But I think it's a different question. Greenland, I think, is an interesting question because, you know, this isn't the first time a U.S. president has tried to obtain Greenland, right? We tried to obtain Greenland.
It doesn't make it right. And by the way, you haven't answered my question. Would it be an illegal move to take a sovereign nation?
Would it be an illegal move to just simply take over Greenland? I don't think it would. I think it would be really problematic under international law. Sure.
It would be problematic under.
I think it would put us at war with Denmark, right, and potentially war with other nations, right.
Well, with NATO, we would put war with NATO. We just, you know what we do? We just dump all our American debt and see your economy collapse. That's what we do. But
I don't think we need to worry about that, right? I think the odds of the U.S. invading Greenland are very low. And I think the odds of NATO going to war, no matter what the U.S. does with the U.S., are zero.
Zero, I agree.
There's not going to be any
war. No.
Okay. Right. So the only question is, the real question only is if the U.S. really thinks Greenland is part of it, is core to its national security. And again, 1867, we tried to buy it. In the 1940s, we tried to buy it. We offered $100 million, right? So it's not the first time the U.S. has tried to get Greenland.
Yeah, but you tried to buy it in a nice way, and by the way, read the room. If it's turned you down so many times, I think the answer is no. And they've also turned you down this time as well. They've said we're not for sale. As you well know, right? Everything oftentimes has a price, right? People
the question becomes, maybe not.
People don't have a price.
Maybe not. But a lot of people will do jobs they wouldn't otherwise do for enough pay. Right, that's a thing, right? And so the real question is,
you can't buy and sell a nation state. You can't just say, I want to buy that island and the 56,000 people on it.
Petrie, countries have bought nations. Of all the countries in the world to say that, the UK should know better than that. You guys have bought countries all the time.
Yeah, in the past. In the distant past, Jamil. We're not doing it now. We're not doing it now, are we? We're not going and invading a sovereign nation.
Just to be clear, you have a thing called the Commonwealth, don't you? How did you assert authority over all those countries that are in the Commonwealth? Why does Canada sell the Queen on their money? They're a sovereign nation, right?
Yeah, but that's the point. They are a sovereign nation. Yeah, and they're independent of British rule.
Except that their notional head of state is the British Queen.
Notional. It's not the same thing as taking over a nation, is it? It's not the same thing.
England, the UK, has a tremendous number of territories around the globe. The Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands, Diego Garcia. We can go through a whole list. The U.S. has them too, by the way. We have Guam. We have Puerto Rico that has an association with us, right? The Northern Mariana Islands. A lot of nations continue to have territories that are not part of their actual country that have associated with them.
But they're not doing it now. Jamil, we move on from history, don't we?
Hold on. Today, you have those possessions. Today, you maintain sovereignty over those possessions, and there's a negotiated resolution. The president is saying, we want Greenland to join America in that way, and that's not unprecedented. It's happened in recent times, and it could happen again here. The question becomes, are his tactics ones that Europe likes? Are they tactics that Greenland or Denmark are going to tolerate? Perhaps not. But let's not pretend like this is an unprecedented idea that none of these nations around the globe, including many European nations, don't have overseas possessions. They do, and they've obtained them, not just in distant memory, but in recent times. And so the question now becomes,
1960s was the last time.
That's not that long ago. And you maintain them today.
But not the last time we did it. Look, the point is, look, it doesn't, all this stuff about what people did in the past, we're talking about what could happen now. Donald Trump has said, I just want to own it. I just want it to be mine. We know it's not about security because he could have as many soldiers and air bases and weapons as he wanted there. It's also a NATO state. So if China or Russia even made a move towards that, NATO defends it. That's the whole point. So we know it's not about security. We know that. So it is very clear. He has said, and I watched him say it in the White House, nah, I don't want to rent it. I don't want to do it. I just want to own it. Somehow it feels better for me to own it. So
I understand, Petrie, how that feels offensive and sounds offensive.
Deeply.
And people take offense to that. Okay. That being said, I don't think it's purely just Donald Trump wants to just own it. He just feels like he's got this real penchant for Greenland. I think
he
that
has for the minerals.
I think that there are real national security and perhaps economic security reasons that the president wants to have the U.S. maintain sovereignty or maintain control over Greenland in a way that's more than just renting space for soldiers. Right now, you could say he's wrong and he shouldn't want that. You could say it's a bad idea for the United States, it's a bad idea for Greenland, it's a bad idea for Denmark. All those things may even be true. At the end of the day, however, the U.S. president, elected by the American people, again, whether we like it or not, whether you like it or I like it or anybody doesn't like it, the American president elected by the people and not removed by Congress, and frankly, with not really any opposition in Congress. There have been some bills introduced, but nothing's going to move that's going to prohibit him from getting Greenland or trying to get Greenland. It doesn't have majorities in the House and the Senate, probably, and probably not, certainly not two-thirds majorities to override a presidential veto. So Congress isn't and may not be able to do anything about it. So then the question becomes, okay, you've got this behavior by the president. He clearly has a point of view. Is there a deal to be done here, right? Is there some resolution, whether it's more American sovereignty, some sort of shared sovereignty, more authority, more troops? I don't know what the deal space looks like, but what's clear is Donald Trump wants to do something of a deal here. What his result, the deal he wants, he might not get, right? The result that Denmark wants, which is get out of our way and leave it alone, that's obviously not going to be the end state. So the question is, where is there a middle ground that can be negotiated? And if not, then what happens? Then you're right. Then if this negotiation doesn't work, then we're at the question of, will the U.S. do something by force? It is hard to imagine a scenario in which the president of the United States, any president, Donald Trump or anybody, invades Greenland and takes it by force. Not zero, by the way. Remember, during World War II, Britain invaded Iceland to keep it away from the hands of the Germans, right? And then the U.S. came in and through an agreement took over in Iceland, and then eventually let it become sovereign on its own after the war. So there is history here, and you're right, we don't need to make too much of the history, but I think what you're seeing here is a president using an aggressive tactic, maybe unwarranted, an aggressive position, maximalist position, and try to see what the deal space looks like. And right now, Greenland and Denmark apparently, as of today, said, we're out, we're not doing a deal, go pound sand. Well, that's probably not the best negotiating tactic with this president.
They don't want to be sold, right? They don't. They've got. I mean, Donald Trump even said just because a boat landed there 500 years ago doesn't make it theirs. Well, right back at you, America, right? I mean, that's exactly how America was founded, right? So it's just this whole space, which is, you know, Donald Trump. Everyone thinks, oh, he's the deal maker in chief. What he's doing is disrupting the globe. He's disrupting, he could potentially see the end of NATO, which has kept peace in the world, which plays directly into Russia's hands, which plays directly into 100%. China's hands. You know, it is almost like he doesn't give a damn about the rest of the world as long as he gets the toys he wants to play with. And that's what it sounds like when he starts doing his stroppy, I'll have it whether they like it or not. And that's what it feels like. And it must be embarrassing, though, on the world stage now for America.
Well, look, I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening that are embarrassing, right? Our withdrawal from Afghanistan was embarrassing.
Yeah.
President Trump, at times, no doubt, says things that does things in a way that I think a lot of people will be embarrassed by, right? But the U.S. has embarrassed itself in many ways. We have set a red line in Syria that we didn't abide by. You can be sure Russia saw that before they went into Ukraine, and that made part of their calculus. We didn't do anything when they went to Ukraine the first time and took Crimea. I'm sure that was in their calculus when they decided to do a second time, right? So the U.S. does a lot of things and a lot of different presidents, Republican, Democrat alike. I'm not going to defend Donald Trump and his tone and his approach or his assertions against NATO. I will say he's been very effective at getting NATO members to pay up what they've committed to doing for years.
Completely agree.
Right? Yeah. Okay. He's been very effective, along with the Israelis, of taking out Iran's proxy forces and taking out their nuclear capabilities. Again, we can argue about how much and whether it was long enough or worth it, but it was certainly effective, right? He's gone and got Nicolas Maduro. And again, we can dispute whether it's a good idea, bad idea. Why would you pardon one drug dealer from Honduras and then go arrest another drug dealer in Venezuela?
And by the way, Wikipedia now says that President Trump is the president of Venezuela.
He said he was the acting president, which I think, again, maybe not the right tone, maybe not the right approach. But there was a lot of things that Donald Trump has done that I think, while maybe embarrassing to other nations, that they actually have benefited the United States. Whether other countries like it or not, I think that is a fair statement. I think there are parts of it that have actually benefited other parts of the world as well. I think Europe building up its own defense capacity, I think in the long run will actually benefit Europe relative to the United States and relative to the globe. So again,
probably to defend us from America. Probably to defend us from you guys.
I don't think, Petrie, I don't think we're going to war anytime soon with the UK or with the rest of Europe. And we, by the way, we have seen the results of Europe rearming itself in history. Not always a great thing when certain parts of Europe rearm. So we all should be worried and watching out for that. And look, we do know who the real enemies are. Okay, I think Donald Trump is pretty clear on who the real enemies are. It's not Europe. He may talk with frustration and make our European allies frustrated. And I'm a big believer in a strong bond across the Atlantic and, frankly, a strong bond across the Pacific with our allies and friends and partners in Japan and India and Australia and New Zealand and South Korea, right? We need those friends and allies, particularly as we face the real threat, which I think Donald Trump understands, which is Russia, China, Iran, North Korea. Now, he may have different views than you and I do about how important a threat Russia is, or whether we can do a deal with China and trust President Xi. I don't think we can trust either Putin or Xi. President Trump clearly thinks he can trust them more than you and I think. But here we are. He is elected president of the United States. 75 million Americans, knowing what they were getting, by the way, after having seen him in office for 4 years, seen him out of office for 4 years, made a decision to elect him.
Yeah, but there's never been a president as unpopular with Americans at this stage in their presidency as Donald Trump. In fact, the second was Donald Trump in his last presidency. So maybe they didn't know what they were getting. Maybe they're surprised by what they've got.
Yeah, well, we have a congressional election coming up in November of this year. We'll see what happens. And then let's say for the sake of argument, Democrats win significant majorities in the House and the Senate. We'll see if they're able to effectively counter the president and push back on some of these things and see if they're able to do that. One, they've got to win those elections. And frankly, they're not polling great either.
No,
right?
I know.
And so we'll see how this all plays out.
Listen, I wish America nothing but the best, but leave Europe and European countries alone, please. Thank you very much indeed, Jamil Jaffer there, Executive Director at the National Security Institute at George Mason University in Washington, D.C. We're very late to a break. Back in a sec.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie here with you, and coming up at midnight of course it is Talk Back, which I want to hear your views. Already you're messaging me about this. Should Harry and Meghan be welcomed back to the UK after everything that they've done? Give me a call, 0344 499 1000. Now though, we're turning our attention to water companies and our trust in water companies. And for those of you listening in Kent and Sussex, I'm sure that your trust in water companies is at an all-time low. South East Water, the shortages there have been an absolute disgrace. I think this is the second time this has happened in short change. And how Thames Water is behaving is an absolute disgrace as well. They've asked for permission to pump more sewage into our waterways for the next 15 years as part of their deal, that we're going to bail them out of the debt that they've got, going to give them money, lend them money. They've increased our water bills by a third in Thames Water, at the same time giving money away to shareholders, in fact borrowing money to give to shareholders, which should be illegal. But to discuss this further, let's talk to Kat Hobbs, who's director of We Own It, which campaigns for public services for people, not profit. Kat, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. I mean, none of these water companies are covering themselves in glory, are they? I mean, NatWest is one of the owners of Sue, South East Water, and they're going, well, we're a minority shareholder, but we'll try and push for them to fix things. The pipes are older than the houses. They're not doing the infrastructure. They're keeping the profit.
Good evening, Petrie. Exactly. I think that's exactly right. And it's been really interesting seeing NatWest talking about this. But who you're not hearing from are the Australian shareholders who own 50% of South East Water, and also the Canadian pension fund who own the other 25%. So really what we have here is the failure of privatised water here in England kind of falling apart before our eyes. And what we've seen this ever since 1989, is that the dividends have been flowing out to shareholders rather than that money being used to be reinvested back into the infrastructure. And we know that South East Water have been spending more on their dividends than on their investment. And this has been in the works for a long time. It's happened before, it's happened repeatedly. And it's completely outrageous, because we're actually in a situation where people don't have running water, they don't have water available, and yet this company, the government hasn't actually brought this company into public ownership, and that's what needs to happen. Actually, they need to lose their licence because they're not fulfilling their statutory duties, and that gives the government the legal power to take away their licence, bring them into special administration, and then bring them into public ownership, which is how, by the way, 9 out of 10 countries run their water. So it's very, very normal. But here in England, we have this very extreme ideological experiment where we've said that we want to have private companies running water, even though these things are natural monopolies. You don't get a choice.
Well, I was going to say that, Kat.
They're over a barrel.
That's the problem. I mean, Thames Water, which is the biggest of them, and you could argue one of the biggest sinners of them as well. We don't get a choice. We don't get to say, well, you can't have my money. We also don't get a choice if they want to put the bills up, which they have done to an extraordinary level. I pay mine twice a year, and when I got my last bill, I thought, oh, that must be for the whole year. No, that was just 6 months of water. And it seems that they make the mistakes, they ravish the company of all money, and then just make us pay for that. No wonder people want to invest in these water companies. They can't lose.
Exactly. And I think people are so angry about this at this point. I mean, we know that 7 out of 10 people want public ownership. We know that over the past 35 years, these companies have extracted around 78 billion in dividends. And then when they're actually brought to account for the sewage in the rivers and seas, they say, oh, you want us to actually invest in the infrastructure? Right, well, we're going to increase your bills. And then even that's still not enough. And we've seen South East Water saying we need more money. But, you know, I think we need to make sure that the moral outrage is targeted at the right place, because shareholders want to make a profit. That's what shareholders do. It's the job of the government to step in on behalf of the British public, of the the communities who haven't got access to water, who are suffering with our rivers full of sewage, and actually bring these companies back into public ownership. I think there's been lots of solutions being talked about, things like the CEO of Southeast Water should resign. We need to stop the bonuses.
With a big fat pension and a payoff. Yeah.
Yeah, all of that. And of course it gets people riled up, but it's really tinkering around the edges of the real solution. As long as these water companies are working for the interests of their owners, who are shareholders the other side of the world, they will not be working for the people in this country and for our rivers and seas. And the alternative is very clear. You can have public ownership. They do it in other countries. It's very normal. We actually carried out and published this week the first ever polling of Thames Water customers.
Yes, I read that.
They want households to be sitting on the board of Thames Water, and workers and environmental groups like anti-sewage groups. They want those people to be represented so that we could have real accountability. And they're really angry. And the deal that you mentioned that's on the table right now between Ofwat and Thames Water creditors. I mean, it's utterly outrageous that they've put forward this deal. What they're saying is they want to be allowed to pollute outside of current legal limits until 2040. Yeah. And so we asked Thames Water customers, what do you think about this? And they've said it's unacceptable.
Of course it's unacceptable. I mean, the whole thing is that it is more expensive to treat that sewage than it is to pump it into a river, right? That's the point. That's how they've been clearing all this money and profits, is that they have literally gone against what they are employed to do in order to funnel those profits. So treating it is way expensive, and they just can't be bothered. So for 15 years, they just want to be able to dump sewage because they don't want to spend money on treating it, money that we pay them to treat it. The problem with taking these companies back into public ownership is, do we pay off those shareholders? Because if it was Thames, I think you guys came up with a figure, is it 100 billion if we had to pay them off? But do we have to pay off shareholders if they've failed, if their company has failed? I don't see why.
So I think it's the government's job to stand up for the public interest. They did that, for example, when Railtrack went bust and was turned into Network Rail. The government actually, the Blair government, stood up for the public interest then. Shareholders didn't get much of what they wanted back, and the public was kind of fairly treated. And I think there's a lot of myths around the cost of this, because Thames Water is a company that no shareholders want to be involved in. They think it's worthless. In terms of the bondholders, the creditors who own the debt, what happens there is there's a haircut. And so if Ofwat accepts the deal that the creditors have put on the table, the haircut, the sort of wiping out of the debt, will be around 25% of the debt. But if the government brought Thames Water into special administration, the haircut would be much bigger. So it would be somewhere between 40 and 55%. So a much better deal for the public purse. So you slash the debt and then refinance it in the public sector, and it's cheaper, and that's a much better deal. Because I think, often the question is, how do we afford it? What's happening right now is that we're only affording privatisation because all our bills are going up.
Yeah.
But every penny of investment comes from customer bills. That's the only income source. And that, as you mentioned earlier, that's why this is an attractive investment proposition, because you have a guaranteed revenue stream. And as long as you can agree with Ofwat, our bills are, the bills are going to go up, the households will keep paying the bills, then that's a nice, tidy little investment if you're a shareholder.
But even that, how is that allowed to happen, Kat? How is it allowed to happen, first of all, that a company can borrow money, which is why they're in so much debt, and give that to shareholders? That should be illegal. It should come from profit and profit alone. And then if they fail in their duties, why are they allowed then to tell us that we've got to pay for their failure? I mean, surely there should be something written in the contract that says, right, this is the money you're accepting. We'll accept an increase, a yearly increase in line with inflation, blah, yada, yada. But if you fail to reinvest, if you fail to keep the infrastructure working, that is not the fault of the public. That is your fault, and you pay for it. Why has that not been done?
Yeah, exactly. I think partly there's a bit of a revolving door between the people involved in the water companies and the regulator. And that's why, frankly, the idea that regulation is going to fix this is just for the birds right now. And so, as you say, if these companies are not providing water, they're pouring sewage into our rivers and seas, they're putting up our bills instead of investing themselves, that's the clue that this system isn't working, you know. And so government can take the companies back, and they don't have to do it all at once. But what they can do is, if you've got a company like Thames Water where the debt is mounting up and they're saying they're completely unsustainable, let them be unsustainable, squeeze them for all that they're worth, and get them back into public ownership, so that we don't have an ongoing rip-off. Because at the moment, what we're going to see over the next 5 years with ongoing privatisation is that we'll spend 22 billion just on shareholder dividends. So if we actually need to put a stop to the rip-off, and the way to do that is to squeeze these companies, you know, find them, make it unprofitable so that they're backing out, and then as they're collapsing, take them back into public ownership and make sure that the shareholders and the bondholders are getting as little as possible. And that's something that the government can do. But they need to actually get a bit of a backbone about this and actually stand up for the public, instead of just sort of being hands-off about it and saying, oh, it's up to the regulator.
Yeah, I completely agree, Kat. But finding a backbone in this government, though, is going to be quite tricky, I think. Kat Hobbs, thank you very much indeed, Director of We Own It, which campaigns for public service for people, not profit. Right, quick break, back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a good evening to you. This is Talk, and if you're watching this, you're probably watching it on YouTube. Well, today new figures show that more people are tuning in to watch content on YouTube than on the BBC for the first time ever. Well, you don't get this kind of quality on the BBC, do you? That's the truth of it. Barb, the independent ratings body, said that the video giant reached nearly 52 million people in December, 1 million more than those choosing to watch the BBC. Now, the figures are actually a little bit more complicated than that, but I thought this was a really interesting reason to ask why it is we're watching television shows differently. And joining me to discuss this further is Stephen D. Wright, broadcaster, TV producer and ex-Channel 4 commissioner. So he knows a thing or two about television, but he's having trouble with kittens at the moment.
Oh, right now, yeah.
Good luck to you. I've got a puppy. It's fun. Why are we watching shows differently now? What's going on with our brains? What's happening?
Well, it's convenience is the main reason. You can watch anything on your phone. You can do it without moving. You can do it on the bus. You can do anything. So that's the reason we've become sort of that, and the growth of sort of video on social media. The kids, the younger people who use mobile phones, are using their screens in their hands rather than the old-fashioned way of watching it around the living room. However, that doesn't mean that TV is dead. It doesn't mean that the TV industry is dying, although there's a heavy sort of implication that this is the future. YouTube is going to take over and everything else. But it's a weird thing, because as a viewer, I love watching TV on my phone. I love watching TV anywhere. But as a TV maker, I hate people watching on the phone, because it's the death of the industry in terms of the culture. The culture of TV, sitting around watching a scheduled program, all those things that create great art are at jeopardy, because channels will jump into this sort of micro telly kind of world. And I don't know if you saw about a month ago, Disney announced they were going to sort of invest in this new Chinese thing called microdramas. And I don't know if you've seen those yet. Those are the sort of things that pop up on your phone while you're sat on the loo, or while you're on the back of the seat of a bus or something, and they're like a minute's worth of ridiculous melodrama, which is bad acting and everything else. But this seems to be the future of Hollywood. This is what a lot of these big companies are betting on. So this kind of news is quite scary for the TV industry, because it sort of implies that the old model is dead, dying, or defunct. Somebody today, when we were talking about this, called me a Luddite for saying, because I was quoted today in the Times saying this is a tragedy. And they were like, well, I don't know why you're so sort of in love with the BBC. I said, there's nothing to do with the BBC. It's the culture of TV. The culture of TV, the old-fashioned methodology of making well-made programs, takes time, takes money, takes effort. Fast, furious clips on social media, on your phone, are not always as good. I mean, that's the main sort of crux of it for me. It's a lot of bad acting. It's a lot of fake AI stuff. It's a lot of, you know what I mean? It's like, you can't make TV quick and cheap. You know what I mean? It's convenience is one thing, but quality is the other.
But the other thing with television, I think, I always try to explain to people the way I see the difference between television and radio, is radio is something you do on your own. You do it in the car. You do it if you're ironing or you're lying in bed or whatever. Television always used to be communal. We always used to sit together, and then there was always the talking about it the next day. I mean, shows like Friends when I was younger, it was like if you didn't watch it, you weren't part of the conversation, right? So it was all very much more communal, and I think that is also something that we're losing, is that everybody's either double screening, or they're not paying attention, or they're not sitting down and watching something together, and that's sad. I mean, that is a tragedy.
Exactly. I mean, people don't watch football on their phone on their own. They go to the pub to watch it with their mates, or you have a viewing party to watch Strictly or Eurovision or whatever. But those events are becoming rarer. TV as a culture is not doing as many live shows, which demands watching when it comes on. You know what I mean? The TV industry has been lazy, has missed the boat in a big way about the way the shift has come. And it's not just happened in the last few months, it's been years coming, the kind of drift towards digital, the drift towards phones, etc. And also the abandoning of the young. We got rid of a lot of young people's TV, and we lost that audience. And so that they have no loyalty. That's the future. I mean, the older audience are dying off eventually. And so there's a weirdness to it. But then this is the same argument people talk about with cinema. People still go to the cinema to see a film. The fact you can watch it on your phone doesn't mean that the cinema chains are going under. Do you know what I mean? It needs a bit of gumption and bravery on the part of the TV bosses, but they also need to confront why people are watching certain shows, etc. So things like iPlayer and whatever need to be simpler. YouTube, if it wants to take over, needs to be a bit more like Netflix. It needs to be easier.
Yeah, I agree.
The YouTube algorithm is horrendous.
Awful.
Absolutely horrendous.
Really clunky.
So all this talk of, the future of TV is YouTube, not yet it isn't. It's coming, certainly. But the fact that you can't find anything, and you have to put up with awful ads, etc., that's not the same as just turning on the telly. The really weird thing is, if they invented flat screen TVs now, the papers would be full of it. It'd be like, oh my God, this incredible invention. You can see anything. You can do fantastic quality, great sound. But people act as if it's an old-fashioned medium that doesn't mean anything.
It's really interesting that you say that with children's television being gone, because that's why pantos are so important, because I went to pantos as a child, which got me used to wanting to go to theatre as an adult, and that it is a feeder. And I was brought, on television Saturday morning, the Banana Splits, all of those shows. I can still sing the song in my head, and that does attach you to television going forward. But I have found myself now being impatient, not with the length of something, but how quickly the next episode happens. Whereas, we used to have to wait a week. I hate waiting a week now. I will for certain things, like Pottery Showdown, but I won't wait for dramas. I want to see them and that is also kind of lazy, right?
Yeah, the thing is this was the TV companies shooting themselves in the foot. Netflix, pioneered that sort of streaming and multiple episodes all at once. Everything drops all at that, and then a lot of these channels, the streamers, realized, hang on, we can spin this out. We get bigger audiences if you make people wait. Anticipation is a great part of drama.
It's true. Yeah.
When you end on a what do you call it? An incredible sort of moment. What will happen next? Well, 30 seconds time you're going to see it, but if you have to wait a week, then you create more anticipation.
I know you're right, but I'm impatient. I go, oh no, I want to know what's happening now. I might even read the end of a book. I'm terrible.
This is the problem. We've sort of created our own demise.
What saves it? What saves it? Because you have breakthroughs like Traitors, which is I think was first big in Denmark. I think was where it was launched. Yep. And you have these big moments that people do talk about. But TV companies are so lazy, and they employ the same people all the time. They get hooked on some actor or some presenter, and it annoys the heck out of me. They are lazy, they are risk adverse, and they don't make anything new.
Well, I'll just parrot that straight back to you. When I was at Channel 4 years ago, I remember I had shared an office next door to the head of comedy, and she was telling me about one of the shows that I loved, and she said, oh no, I'm finishing it. And I went, but you can't. And she went, well, I have to do that in order to get the new stuff on. And it was that awful thing of, oh my God, you do have to kill your babies and get new ideas on. But the TV channels now don't do that. That risk-averse phrase, that's the real thing behind everything. The big positive for YouTube and all those kind of things is variety. TV used to have that variety. It's become incredibly homogenized now. And the viewers are bored with that. The same actors, the same dramas, the same everything. I mean, how many sort of grim detective series set in a seaside town do we need to see? I
agree, and it must be frustrating for you as a maker of television. Stephen D. Wright, thank you. I want to say quickly that one of your TV formats, which is Celebrity Call Centre, is being aired in Hungary on Antenna 3. So make sure if you're there, we do get callers from all over the world, so I know they're listening. So thank you and good luck with that, Stephen. And I hope I get to speak to you again, because this is a really interesting topic, I think, about the changing way that we view things. Stephen D. Wright there, broadcaster, TV producer and ex-Channel 4 commissioner. Coming up, we're going to be looking at the front pages with Stella Chadakidou.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a very good evening to you. This is Talk, and it is Petrie, and of course coming up in an hour's time at 12 o'clock, it is your chance to talk back, and I really want to ask you about this. We don't normally do this sort of conversation, but I just thought it would be interesting. It's a Wednesday. I wanted to do something a little bit lighter. And I also thought it'd be interesting to gauge your view of this, because there are rumours abound that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, are thinking of coming back to the UK. Now, first of all, there's some suggestion of a trip back to the UK for the Invictus Games, which will be held here this year. Harry wants all the security put in place before he allows his wife and children to come back, and obviously he wants us to pay for that. But I just want to know if she would be welcome back here. Those children, I don't think they have met their grandfather, have they? They haven't met Charles. No, they've not even met their granddad. So which I think is just shocking and horrible. But there you go. But would you welcome her back? That's the thing. I mean, I don't forgive that easily. I mean, I just don't. Sorry. And I'm not that fond of the idea of her. I mean, I was really excited about her when she first showed up on the scene. I thought, here we have a grown-up, beautiful woman who speaks her mind, who's had a life before all of this, is from outside the royal family, a breath of fresh air, to use that harried old term. And I thought that she would join charities, and she'd have a voice, and she'd use her platform, and she'd be powerful, and she'd be all of these things. And it all went bleh, didn't it? And then it was like, oh, what a disappointment. And then they went off to Mexit, as it was called, going off to America, and it seems that it's not going particularly well for them. I mean, they're churning in the cash, but I don't think America's in love with them either. So they might want to come back to the UK and refresh their royal credentials, let a bit of that glitter rub off on their brand, and who knows, possibly live here again. Would you want them to rejoin the royal family? Would you go and meet them if they were opening a new shop in your town? Would she be welcome? Would you welcome her? Would you be there throwing flowers at her, or would you not bother turning up? I'd love to hear your view. Give me a call, 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at national rate, but we do call you back. And you can text the word talk and your message to 87222. Well, joining me to talk about this and the front pages is Stella Chadikidu, who is a former Labour aide. What do you think? Do you think that this country would welcome her? But we're a bit of a soft touch, really. Would we welcome her back? Do we forgive her?
I think that Meghan's royal period was much better than what came later. I'm not very fond of all of the Netflix shows and the cooking shows and all of this. It feels a bit overdone for me. I think she looked very elegant during her royal era. Generally, my opinion, whenever it's a royal question, should Prince Harry do this? Should the king speak to Prince Harry again? My answer is always, yeah, why not? Go ahead, do it. And I do realize that by welcoming her back, there is the danger there will be some drama, undoubtedly. Yeah. But journalists have to eat as well. There is a cost of living crisis.
That's true. We like a bit of a drama, but I'm not sure that the public would go for it. I know that we're a soft touch, but we're not suckers.
But I think she has massive following. I think that there are people who are extremely into Meghan. I think there is a whole cult, and you see that because whenever you say anything about Meghan Markle, you get literally hundreds of people commenting and messaging you.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. Even when I do not think I've ever said anything outright negative about her. Obviously, I criticize some of her decisions, but I have received really, really intense reactions. So
I think she just bores me. I don't think there's anything
by now,
interesting
absolutely, yes.
About her.
Yeah, it's too perfect and it's too much effort. And I think you mentioned earlier, oh, maybe the family would like to move back to the UK. I don't think the UK is the right place for her. I don't think Europe is the right place for her.
I wonder where it is.
I think where she is in the US and in California.
Yeah, just stay where you are.
Yeah.
Stay. You're
among the
fine.
fabulously wealthy celebrities' friends.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right, give us a call on that 0344 499 1000. Let's have a look at the papers. Very compelling image on the front page of the Times there. The killing has stopped. Has it? Iran avoids the wrath of the US. He has it on good authority there'll be no more deaths or executions of protesters. Do you believe that?
No, I don't know why he would say that he knows that for a fact, because as far as we know, there has been an internet blackout, and you have the family of 26-year-old Erfan Soltani, who is one of the protesters, who are saying that he is about to be prosecuted, executed,
hanged
very, very soon, and he has not been given access to a lawyer. We do not really know what is happening there. There could be over 2,000 people who have died already, and this we're talking about.
That's a very low estimate as well.
Yeah, and this is all ordinary protesters, ordinary people, and the reason why we know that, because as I said, there is an internet blackout, is because the government itself has been broadcasting from a morgue, showing the bodies and the families coming and looking through the bodies, trying to find their loved ones. And I do not trust Trump, because Trump clearly doesn't know what he's saying or what he's doing. He has refused to meet with the leader of the opposition, who is outside of Iran. At the same time, he's encouraging people in Iran to protest and to reclaim their institutions, as he says. But who is exactly going? How are they going to have democratic elections when they do not really have a unified opposition? The opposition leader doesn't want to cooperate with the other elements of the opposition. At the same time, you have, as I said, a very, very violent regime, and the opposition expectation is that the government will be toppled because America is going to intervene. They are going to bomb Tehran, and that is how we will topple the government. They don't have another plan. Trump is their plan.
And the thing is that actually Donald Trump's military options are very, very limited. He's not got any ships in the area anymore. They've all gone. It would rely on if he did the stealth bomber, the long distance bomber that he was showing off about the last time, which is possible, but that is a huge payload that's being dropped. That they wouldn't be able to drop a smaller payload, and that is overkill. That would be too much for urban and civilian areas. Where do you bomb? What do you bomb with? And where do you bomb from? And actually, his options are extremely limited. And I think this is Donald Trump backing out of his promise to the Iranian people. I think that this is because somebody sat him down and said, look, you know, we're going to have to do it from a country in the Middle East. They're not going to want us to do it from there because that puts them immediately in the sights of Tehran. And Tehran, although limited militarily, does still have about 2,000 warheads that it can use. And it would just concentrate those on the Middle East country that provided America with a launching pad. So it's way more limited than people think. I mean, probably even him, he probably thought he could just go and just bomb somewhere. But where do you bomb? All 31 provinces are up in revolt. Where do you bomb? What do you bomb without killing civilians yourself? It's not possible.
And this is the problem with having politicians who are not interested in reading and in following the news closely, and in knowing about the history of foreign policy and why certain decisions were made, and ended up with hindsight, which we do have hindsight about what happens in the Middle East when the US decides to play God.
Especially in Iran. I mean, right, this is not the first time. There's also, some people might suggest that they go in and do a Maduro, and just try and either take the Ayatollah or kill the Ayatollah. But that is extremely difficult, not just because trying to find him would be very difficult. He's already put in place, that's not the regime toppling, as we saw in Venezuela. That is just him. And he's already lined up, I think, 3 other mullahs to be his replacement if something were to happen to him. So the regime stays there and it stays strong with people that he's put in place. And actually, the extrajudicial killing of a foreign leader causes all sorts of diplomatic issues for America and for the Middle East and for the world. So there isn't a simple answer here, and I think we're hearing Donald Trump doing backward steps. That's what I think we're hearing.
I also think this is one of these conflicts where the AI starts playing a very dangerous role because we don't have information, we don't have accurate information from the ground, and there is going to be a lot of misinformation.
Absolutely.
And if we cannot trust
flags.
the President of the United States to give us accurate information, then we're really in the dark.
Yeah, I think we really are in the dark, and I do think, him saying help is on its way, I think that I feel so sad for the Iranian people because I don't believe it is. Although we are seeing movements in military bases for the UK and American military being moved out, but I think that's just a precaution in case Iran decides to strike first. I'm not sure that Donald Trump can do what he might want to do here because it is too difficult. It's a very complicated theatre of operations. And I feel so sorry for the people of Iran, and I wish that there was something the world could do to help them get out of this. And we could, I suppose, if we put our thought to it. The other story on the front page, Fan Rao police chief won't quit. Oh, good. Head of West Midlands Force lawyering up after Home Secretary calls for his resignation over decision to ban Israeli supporters. This is a really weird story, isn't it?
I'm in 2 minds about this story because, what happened is, right, the report says that, the way that the decision was taken was not appropriate because it felt as if the West Midlands police force, they actively tried to seek evidence of why they should ban them, why they should ban the Israeli supporters, rather than
protecting them.
Rather than it was rather than this being reactive to something that came to their attention. Yeah. It was them who sought out the information. Yeah. And then there is also the accusation that some dodgy artificial intelligence was used on some of the way that the evidence was gathered, I guess, and that is not appropriate for an official report, which is absolutely true. But the reason why I'm on 2 minds about this is because when the case first came up, I thought, yeah, I can see how it can look bad and it can look like, oh, is there anti-Semitism there? But then when you actually look at the actual team and football hooligans and the way that they have acted in previous matches, my opinion was, I'm pro safety, pro law and order at all times, and I see this as a good decision. So really, if I went back in time, would I not have taken the same decision, whether I had access to that evidence?
I think the point of this, though, is that it was just too quick and easy to say, well, we'll just ban the Israeli fans.
And I get that, but it became so political, and it's still, again, it is all so political. We're talking about, oh, Shabana Mahmoud is a Blairite, and this guy is a Corbynite, he was the chair of his local Momentum group, and I do not care about internal Labour Party politics. I mean, I do care about internal Labour Party politics in as much as I want to say, please grow up, I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Let's take a quick break, and Stella and I'll be back in just a moment.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it's Petrie here with you, and with me is Stella Chadakidou, who's a former Labour aide, and we're going through the papers for you. The Guardian, Trump still intent on conquering Greenland, say Danes after talks. So they got together, you know, some of the most senior people. They went into the White House. They're trying to say to him, you can have whatever you want. You can put, they've already got permission for 18 further bases. The Americans used to have 1,000 soldiers on Greenland. They reduced that down to 200. They can have as many soldiers as they want on there. NATO are offering, the rest of NATO are offering to put troops on Greenland as well. Greenland's saying, yep, fine. No, not good enough. Donald Trump said he must own it, and he said it just feels better if he owns it. It's just a feeling. It's not nothing else.
I have to say, I haven't had kids in my life, but it does just sound like the kind of thing
it sounds like a toddler
would say.
Yeah.
When you tell him, sell your toys, and
yeah.
There's no reason you can't sell your toys. And like, why? No, it's mine, mine, mine.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has no reason to do this.
None.
The US with Denmark have been cooperating on this for a very long time. It's always been fine. They even had, and I was really shocked to hear this, they even had a gentleman's agreement with Denmark, where Denmark would publicly say that no nuclear weapons are allowed over Greenland, but they would just not kick up a fuss if the US, did anything. As long as they did it quietly. There was an understanding that Denmark would just look the other way. So much so that in 1968, the US actually flew over Greenland with like some kind of nuclear weapons, and there was an accident, and there was nuclear matter all over like some space in Greenland, which is obviously, you would expect it to be a very bad diplomatic episode, but the relationship between the countries has always been so bad. The other thing is, NATO is supposed to be the US' most important, vital military alliance. What do they expect NATO to do if Trump decides to invade Greenland? What is NATO supposed to do?
Well, it's a really interesting proposition, because, of course, no one would... I mean, Stephen Miller who many people think is the real president of the United States. So we're a superpower. They're not going to fight us for Greenland. He's right. There will not be war over Greenland. There won't be. There can't be. It's not possible to take on the military might of the US. But doesn't mean that America will get away with it. I mean, the diplomatic fallout from that, and he could care less about the diplomatic fallout, right? He couldn't care less if everyone said they hated him. He doesn't care. But it gets worse than that, because Europe owns America. It owns trillions of dollars of American debt. And collectively, I think the NATO countries would dump that stock, and it would tank the American economy overnight, literally overnight. It would tank it. The dollar would become worthless. It would be like what's going on in Iran. People would be having to take barrowfuls to get buy a cucumber. So that's one thing that we could do. The other thing that we could do that I don't know if somebody has told him is kick out all the American troops from British soil, German soil, and they rely on those. There's a lot of intelligence that comes through those air bases in the UK. They use them a lot. Ramstein in Germany is, I think, the biggest single base outside of the US. And I think that other countries as well, even those that are not part of NATO, would join us as well to bring this down. This cannot happen.
Yeah. The other problem,
we won't fight them.
We have Russia on our doorstep, so that is the problem there that I foresee. Great time for Russia if that happens.
Oh, they would love it.
The US breaks down, and then Europe becomes completely on its own from US power. Then
But we can't allow him to take a sovereign country.
I agree with you. That is why I personally believe that Europe needs to do everything in our powers to rearm.
Yeah, but not in time.
Yeah, we don't have enough time.
We don't have enough time. We've let it go.
There are difficult decisions ahead of us.
Yeah, some very, very difficult decisions. But the thing is that will Trump actually do it? That's the question. And my feeling is yes, because his ego, actually, he said he was going to take it, whether they like it or not. He's not. I can't see him backing down. Can you?
I have no idea. I'm not going to pretend to try and be able to look into his mind. I'm just really. It really saddens me. I'm looking at this picture of the Danish foreign minister in Washington, and I'm just seeing, normal European politicians trying to adapt to this new era of populist, social media optimized politicians like Donald Trump. And it makes me really, really sad because I didn't realize, I think 10 years ago, how bad things could get.
So quickly, yeah. I'm the same. I have to say, though, I'm very impressed with the pipe that he's got in his mouth. You don't often see him. I like a man with a pipe.
Very Churchillian.
Yeah, it's wonderful. A man with my father used to smoke a pipe, which is probably why I'm quite attached to the image of that. But I wish them the best. I really do, but I fear for the worst. A story here on the front page as well of The Guardian. 7 Palestinian Action-affiliated prisoners have ended their hunger strike after ministers decided not to award a £2 billion contract to an Israeli arms firm.
Well, that's good. I mean, both of these things are good. Both the fact that the ministers decided not to award this contract to an Israeli arms firm, and the fact that the prisoners ended their hunger strike. Yeah. Obviously, it's a very difficult position to be in for the government. They would not want to be seen as, making decisions based on what protest action prisoners are taking. But why should the UK give a $2 billion contract to an Israeli arms firm? Give it to a British one, give it to a European one. Do not reward the Israeli government for doing things that do not, firstly, that do not serve the interests of the UK and Europe. And secondly, we do not want their war to be in our name. We do not want the things that they're doing with these weapons to be in our name. No matter how much, I think there is a very few people who, no matter how much you support Israel, I think that there are very few people who would come out and say, oh, I have no qualms, no second thoughts, no problems with how they have been conducting themselves.
I mean, look at the way they're conducting themselves in the West Bank now, which we don't hear anything about. We don't hear it. It just...
ethnically,
they're
trying to ethnically cleanse.
Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it. It's crazy to me. Let's move to the Daily Star. I don't know what the excuse is to put a girl in a bikini on the front page because we're in the middle of winter, but maybe that's why they've done it. And this is all the removal trucks moving to the Royal Lodge of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the black sheep of the family. His Royal Skyness, they're saying, and we've seen some work going on at the new farmhouse that he's going to be living in. It's a very much smaller proposition, not quite so glamorous, but workers are there putting a top-of-the-range Sky at the new home of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. I mean, he's allowed to watch Sky, isn't he? I think.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, okay.
It's a Sky dish or something.
Okay.
You don't need a dish anymore, do you? Anyway, I don't care.
I don't care about him.
I don't care. I think the less we know about him and the less we hear about him, the absolute better. I just, just go away now. You're nothing. The Daily Mail. shameless. A scathing report condemns West Midlands police lies. I mean, this is a story. Like I said, it is a really strange, unusual story, but it really has. It's grabbing the front pages. It is really interesting. But he's going to try and cling on to his job, as all of these people do. But even if he loses it, he gets his pension, right? He'll be fine.
That's the thing, though. Again, like, the reason why he's refusing to leave is because this has become so political, and it's not really. It doesn't feel, even reading the stories, it doesn't feel like this is a question of judgment. It feels like this is a question of allegiance to a political faction, and this is why I really struggle with his story. I struggle to just say, oh yeah, he should resign because his report was bad, because I am wondering, okay, if I can try to imagine a similar report for a different case, not on Israel-Palestine, on a less politically toxic issue, but still equally important and controversial in some way, would I equally feel that I would need him to resign immediately? And
that's a good point, actually. If you take the heat out of it, if you take the political heat out of it,
if you say, oh, they banned, I don't know, some other like from some other nationality, a football team. Yeah. Would you say, oh, you banned a football nationality, a football team, when you didn't need to, and now this other nationality is feeling like you discriminate against them? Would you say, oh, that was a very grave error of judgment and
just
so
move on?
Unsuitable.
So that's the Daily Mail. The Eye. UK military prepares for American strike on Iran. I've just been looking at the military options on that. I cannot see what he's going to bomb without hitting innocent civilians. Britain has withdrawn military personnel from Qatar base ahead of potential Trump strikes on Tehran, amid growing belief that action is imminent. And some people are suggesting that we could see Trump bombing something in Iran within the next 24 hours.
Yeah. The other problem is that we often do not find out about it until it's too late, in the same way that he did not even tell Congress about Venezuela and his plans there. Why would we think that we would be informed in advance on this one?
Yeah, we wouldn't be. Or permission sought. You know, he's not interested in permission. He's not interested even in going through his own Congress to discuss this. So. Look, he's promised it. I think he's a man that follows through on his promises. We've certainly seen him do that, right? Apart from getting prices down and helping people with their health.
Yeah, but he also said that he believes. He also said that he was an isolationist. You know, he believed in, oh, we will not have any more foreign wars. We will not. The U.S. needs to focus on our own problems. No, he's an interventionist. He's a garden variety interventionist.
Yeah, I mean, look at Israel-Palestine, you know, that whole thing as well.
And that also, Israel-Palestine also goes back to his obsession with owning things, right? He wants to own the Gaza Strip. He wants to have the, what was it called?
Trump.
Gaza Mar-a-Lago, whatever he was going to call it.
Yeah, it is, and it's a really interesting obsession. Like going back to Greenland, when when he literally says, "No, I don't fancy any of the diplomatic options. I want to own it." And he's now listed as the president of Venezuela, Donald Trump. The president of Venezuela currently is Donald Trump.
The country, the government of the country in Venezuela is basically completely the same. He hasn't changed
absolutely changed nothing.
Yeah. They're all just waiting
and there's a
around.
blackout. There's a blackout from Venezuela as well, and journalists are being arrested and cameras being smashed and things. There's a blackout. That's why we're not hearing anything from Venezuela. So UK military, when it says prepares for an American strike on Iran, I think that's a little bit minxy. I mean, basically they're withdrawing people from air bases. It's not. It's not the same. Quite prepared. Do you know what I mean? It's not the same thing at all. We need to take a quick break, but we will be back in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it's Petrie here with you, and with me it is Stella Chadakido. Do or do?
Dhu.
Dhu. Oh, it's dhu. Sorry. Chadakido.
Amazing.
Thank you. Former Labour aide. So you should have corrected me ages ago. Right, let's have a look at the Daily Express. We were just saying in the break there, Stella, that this is it's an unusual choice for a front page, given there is so much news happening around the world at the moment. But still, nonetheless important. Let's honour the nation's injured 999 heroes. This is one of their crusades, right? And they want a special awards, I think, a special medal for staff who are injured, who work for our 999 emergency services.
I can see why the Daily Express put it on their front page, seeing as it is their campaign. And I can definitely see the case for having a special medal for people who have been injured. But again, honestly, I'm not sure that this is what is at the top of my mind.
I mean, they do deserve it. There should be a special award for people who are injured while they're doing saving us, basically. Now, how do you fancy a holiday? I'm not big on holidays. I don't really like them, because I'm weird. I don't really like holidays. I like time off work, but I don't really like holidays. But would you go for a holiday to the moon?
No.
I can't imagine the weather's that good.
Why would they do that? I don't even go bungee jumping.
No, exactly.
Do you remember that submarine that went?
Yes.
Really deep, and you had these billionaires who died, and his son.
Yeah, and that was a terrible story.
Yeah,
it completely
terrible.
shattered into it imploded. And they were going around the Titanic. I think that was what that was. Yeah, this is a hotel on the moon, first hotel on the moon by 2032. I wonder who is going to be. Well, I don't think we could afford it. I mean, I don't know your financial situation, but you'll each pay $7.5 million. I don't know. I mean,
how presumptuous.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. Perhaps you do have that rattling around at the back of your sofa. £7.5 million for 5 nights in rooms with a view of 1 million stars. Well, we can have that already. We can just look at, I can see that from my bedroom window. I don't have to pay $7.5 million. Their accommodation will have oxygen, which is good.
Oh, wow.
That's good. Phew.
You are spoiling us.
I didn't think that would have to be on the list, frankly. It would have oxygen, water and air recycling, temperature control, and a radiation shelter for solar storms. And in case they wish they weren't here after all, they can call reception and request an emergency escape system to cut the trip short. Skylar Chun, 22 years old, founder 22, bless. Founder of Galactic Resources Utilisation Space, said it won't be your traditional hotel. Well, no, there wouldn't be an outside pool, would there?
No, the real story here is you have this 22-year-old who, you know, he probably has a very good degree. I have no idea, but I'm just going to assume
Probably.
that he's probably a very ambitious young man with a good degree, with a lot of skill and knowledge in this area. And rather than focusing his talent and attention and time on Earth to do something productive with his time because of the nature of capitalism, and I'm sorry, I'm not saying capitalism is evil and it's horrible for everything. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying, look at the unintended consequences. You have brilliant 22-year-olds, rather than trying to say, you know, how are we going to save the Earth from burning or something else? They're thinking, oh no, I need to put a hotel on the moon because that's the only way I'm going to be able to buy a house on Earth.
Yeah, £7.5 million. So get saving. You've got until 2032. A hotel on the moon. I don't know if that includes transport.
A very good question, actually.
Good question.
Because that would be another company.
Yeah, that would be another. I would imagine that would probably be Elon Musk, wouldn't it? Who would have to transport you there. So on top of the £7.5 million, I'm guessing. He is backed by Elon Musk, so there you go. It would be Elon Musk's rocket, presumably. That would be another couple of mil, wouldn't it? And you'd have to get a return ticket.
I wonder what his profit margins are for this.
I have no idea. It's all just absolute nonsense, isn't it? Really? Well, it'll happen one day. But nobody will be able to, well, few people will be able to afford it, but not most of us. Financial Times, an amazing picture there of Takaichi, who is the first woman Prime Minister in Japan. And she's set to call a snap election for next month as she seeks to convert her high public approval ratings into a parliamentary majority for her ruling Liberal Democrat Party. So congratulations to her. Snap Iron Lady bets on her personal ratings to revive Japan's listless conservatives. The other story there is Reeves' signal on extending pubs U-turn cheers hotels. So the U-turn on the hospitality centre, where basically it was pubs, and now she's saying she might extend it further to other hospitality.
Can I just say something?
So she made this problem.
I have a bugbear with the word U-turn because I feel like it's being used far too often, and literally every time the government changes policy or even makes policy, because on this instant Labour is making policy. It is a new policy because the business rates, the emergency business rates during COVID, they were expiring in April. They were going to come up anyway. This wasn't a new measure, and they announced the new measure, which is they're going to try and taper it off, and they're going to have there will be special measures from pubs, and now obviously this is going to be extended to other parts of this hospitality sector, which you could have expected. And it is something very doable from what I understand from a policy perspective. It's something that the Treasury is perfectly capable of handling. And I think that it has become a bit lazy to use the word U-turn, because then then the story becomes about, oh, the government is useless. And don't get me wrong, yeah, absolutely, criticize the government, say they're useless. But can we also talk about the other thing, the other aspect of the story, which is, why is our hospitality industry on its knees? And the reason why our hospitality industry is on its knees is because it depends on people who do not have any discretionary income anymore. This is why our pubs are really struggling. This is why our restaurants are really, really struggling.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I'm with you on the term U-turn, because it is entirely possible. I mean, I was thrilled with the dropping of the mandatory digital IDs. I'm absolutely fundamentally opposed to that. And it's being described as a U-turn. It could actually be that he's listened to what the public had to say. I mean, what he should have done is not declare it as a given policy. This is going to happen. It's going to be mandatory, and you've got no choice. This is happening. There are better ways of doing that if you're going to listen to the public after you've said it. But it could be that he didn't realise it was going to be so unpopular and just went, OK, well, I'm listening to the public. That is also possible. So I'm with you. I think the U-turn is a lazy description, because it can be nuanced.
It's just a convenient way for papers to grab headlines and avoid discussing other meatier policy issues and other government announcements, and try to dissect and find an angle in less obvious stories. I think it is very easy, if you're a journalist, to look at that announcement and say, oh, you changed something. You didn't say that. 4 months ago you said something else. 6 months ago you said something else. Haha, I got you. The story now is the Prime Minister useless? Is the government useless? And we're going to U-turn. No, go, and they did the Northern Powerhouse Rail Network announcements yesterday. Go and read through that. Come and tell me whether that is good. Come and describe to me what you have found out in terms of, okay, so they say that there is going to be a cap of £45 billion, for example. They say that this is going to happen in the 2030s. I want to hear more about that. That is a lot more important for the future of the country than some small potatoes measure about saving the pub sector, which, frankly, very good that Keir Starmer is doing that. Would they rather have a Margaret Thatcher who is looking at whole industries which could have been salvageable back then and saying, oh, no, this lady is not for turning, goodbye, and where we are now. Look where we are now.
I do agree with that. I mean, I do think this government is useless, but not for those reasons. And I do think that there is a case for being able to change your mind, like with the winter fuel allowance, right? That turned out to be way more unpopular than they thought. So they thought, okay, well then we won't do that then. We've listened to you, we've heard you, so we're not going to do that now. And I think that is not always the case. I think there is weakness in Keir Starmer, but it could be that he's listened to the public on ID cards and listened to the public on hospitality, and they've changed their plans accordingly. Why don't we look at it that way? Because that's not very popular, is it? I mean, both things can be true. I can think they're terrible and spineless, but I can also see that they might be listening to what we're saying. Quick break, Stella, and we will be back in just a moment.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, this is Talk and it's Petrie here with you. Don't forget, coming up at midnight is Talk Back, but right now I have Stella Chadakidou with me in the studio. Is that better?
Amazing.
It'll be smoother. We'll get there. The Sun newspaper for Thursday, the 15th of January. Cheryl stalker nicked again. A jailed killer freed after 3 months and then rearrested. This is Cheryl Tweedy's killer. Stalker was back behind bars last night, hours after the Sun found him grinning outside a bail hostel. I don't know why they've gone with this story. Daniel Bannister, 51, had been secretly freed in recent weeks after spending just 3 months in prison. Not 3 months for killing someone. I'm going to make that clear, although it's not clear on the front page. He was put away last year for stalking Cheryl Tweedy.
Yeah, I'm worrying about the. I mean, I understand that his image is public because she's been in court and all of that, but I'm worrying about putting him on the cover because I feel like for some people that kind of encourages them.
Yeah.
Some people with personality disorders may be encouraged by
seeing the fame that this guy's getting. Yeah, possibly. There are those people, aren't there? The Daily Telegraph. Let's have a look at this. I mean, 4 million people denied the right to vote. The Prime Minister is running scared of the public with 27 councils poised to cancel elections. This is a sort of reframing all the councils, isn't it? This is to reshape councils and make them more efficient. But is this a trick?
No, I mean, it is perfectly legal, right? There is a Local Government Act which allows him to do that. The reason why they're doing this is because a lot of the new councils, they are saying they're just simply not ready. So you could have a situation where you elect a new mayor, for example, and they don't have an office to go into, they don't have an actual established institution that's going to take forward whatever vision they may have or whatever things they may be promising. I understand though that it looks quite bad. It looks that like there wasn't enough organization. Generally people don't like it when which every political party does, by the way, but people do not like it when a political party decides on when and how and where elections are going to be taking place. But you would always have that happen under Labour and right now because this whole thing was their idea and their vision, so it keep happening.
But it's also pretty convenient, isn't it? I mean, coincidentally convenient because Labour's popularity has collapsed completely. Keir Starmer's personal popularity is incredibly low, and Reform obviously making meat out of this because they're saying, well, they're just scared of us taking over these councils, and they're probably right.
Yeah, they are probably right that they are scared of Reform winning in a lot of councils and mayoral elections and all of that. But at the same time, I do think that the Labour Party, the Labour government, is giving a lot of power and a lot of money and resources in all of these places. So rest assured, Reform, eventually all of this could be theirs.
Yeah, it could all be theirs, all the disasters that go with it. But the independent watchdog, the Electoral Commission, has suggested that just this rearrangement and what's going on here does not constitute the sort of exceptional circumstance that would justify postponement. So they're going to have to work this through, aren't they? They're going to have to try and figure out if they can actually do this legally.
It is difficult, right? Because what are they going to do? Are they going to now, out of the blue, say, okay, change of plans, we are having elections, guys, get ready?
We need a certain amount of time, don't we, to sort these elections out. The other big story, of course, and Keir Starmer being again referred to as being spineless and being China's lapdog, is the China super embassy that faces a court challenge. This super embassy could be blocked by a legal challenge. A residents group says it will bring legal action and is willing to go to the Supreme Court if Keir Starmer approves the embassy next week. It can't be on planning grounds, surely.
Yeah.
You know, I mean...
that would be the most ridiculous. You know what? China will be laughing.
I know.
It's like China, where they get to do whatever they want, and they get to just have this massive public works, which we could not even dream of doing at the amount of time or, you know, with the amount of money that they do it. They will be laughing if this happens. They say,
if there's a planning block by the local residents.
Yeah, the new embassy would be blocking our view.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, that I don't think there are many people that actually agree China should be allowed to build this super. And certainly our European colleagues across the pond, across the ocean, are now concerned as well, because they're seeing this as a major European spy base, if you like, in the heart of Europe, or just on the edge of Europe, which will be able to make use of quite a lot of stuff. And there's been plans, hasn't there, where we've seen all these data cables that will run exactly along the lines of the Chinese embassy, which could be tapped into and all that sort of thing. What do you make of it? Do you think that we're just being, again, a bit naive here?
We definitely are being naive, but on the other hand, US is out of the game, no longer our ally. We cannot depend on them. You need to pick one. Russia, China, Saudi Arabia. Which one do you pick? I think you pick China.
When you put it like that, yeah. But
we're poor.
I mean, that's the worst. I mean, that's worse than the choices we get at elections, isn't it? Tories or Labour?
I'm afraid so. I'm afraid so, but...
God, that's depressing.
Yeah.
Anyway, new wind farms will add £1.8 billion to our energy bills. That's good, isn't it? We were talking about this yesterday, about net zero, and what an absolute joke it is.
Yeah, so see, this is related a bit to the question I just posed to you. One of the main reasons why we are in the situation we are is because we struggle so much with energy production, energy prices. We do not have... It's one of the main reasons why
we don't have energy security.
We will struggle so much with reindustrialization in any sort of level, is because of how poorly consecutive governments have handled the UK's energy security.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, this is decades in the making, absolutely decades in the making. They are all responsible for this. In the same way, they're all responsible for the shocking state of our defence as well. And they should all be ashamed. In fact, a few people should probably be in prison for it, because they've left us completely vulnerable. So yeah, so that's another 1.8 billion. That's on top of what we were talking about yesterday, which was 4.5 trillion, 7.6 trillion, or 9 trillion.
But you know what? Like, we're talking about China and how they were able to do all of this public investment, and how they are able to do public works in such a short amount of time. And I just keep on thinking, and now we're talking about our energy situation and wind farms and all of that. If during the time when we had zero interest rates, if the government back then, if they had it in their minds, rather than saying, oh, Gazprom in Russia, no, it's fine. Russia is not going to militarily. No. Russia is not going to try. Russia promised. Putin promised it's going to be fine. we don't need our own energy source. We don't need to drill for anything here. No. We can totally. George Osborne and David Cameron had this amazing idea where they said, we're going to be in power forever. We are going to be the new Tony Blairs. We are going to tell the centrist, previously Blair voting voters that, look, guys, we are a new Conservative Party. We're pro climate change. We're pro green energy, whatever. And so we're going to block all of these things that we are still relying on. We're just going to keep on taking them from abroad. And then you guys can continue voting for us with a clean conscience. Yeah. And that didn't happen.
No. And also, you know, things change, and we've not planned for those. We haven't planned for the worst. We've planned for the best. We've planned for things to stay exactly as they are, and as we've seen in the last year or so, that ain't happening. And nothing really stands still. The other story on the front of the Telegraph is Sting. Are you a fan of the Police? Do you know the Police?
Oh yes, of course,
yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Not the police,
yeah,
not the cops, but the Police. I loved the Police when I was younger. Oh my God, I loved them. Sting has paid more than $500,000 to his bandmates in Police in backdated royalties. Well, that's nice. Actually, it's $595,000 to the drummer Stuart Copeland. He was the one that I fancied, Stuart Copeland.
Why did you not give him to begin with?
I don't know. It's very strange. But anyway, at least he's done it. He's got Every Breath You Take, A Message in a Bottle. Oh my God, that takes me back. They were the best. I loved them. I loved them so much. Stella, thank you. I think we've pretty much run out of time, and I'm singing Message in the Bottle in my head now. But Stella Chadikizo, former Labour aide, thank you very much indeed for your time. Now, though, it's over to you. It is Talk Back, and unusually, it's a lighter topic today. It's about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. Would you welcome them back to the UK?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning. This Thursday morning, my last show of this week, but if you weren't listening earlier, the good news is that I'm back to 10 till 1. So that is now happening. That is a thing. As of Monday, there'll be no more. Oh, it could be 11, it could be 10. Oh, who knows? We're now 10 till 1. So thank you, and thank you for your support through all these changes. I know it has been annoying, and I really want to thank you for those of you who've waited till 11 o'clock and then tuned in, or hung around in case I was on at 10 o'clock. And I really, really do appreciate it. But the schedule now has been put back to what it was. So it's 10 until 1. Of course, I can't speak for the distant future, but that's the way. Never say never. But that's the way it is now. So thank you for all your support through these weeks and months where it's been all over the shop, and sticking with me. I honestly appreciate it so much, because it's the last show of the week this week, and there is so much awful news. I mean, just looking at what's going on in the world, with Iran and Greenland and Russia and all around the world, actually. I just thought we'd do something a little bit lighter. And Meghan Markle, it doesn't get much lighter than that, does it? And Gary has said, on the subject of my opinion on Meghan returning to the UK, I have to say I've never had nothing to say when it comes to your topics. However, when it comes to Harry and Meghan, I couldn't care less. And I wonder if that is the overarching feeling, because they have hacked us off so much. I think we're even beyond angry now. I think it's like, oh, just go away. Just do your own thing. Just shut up. But they'd be in our face if they were back in the UK. That's the point of this. There's a piece by Sarah Vine who says, why does Meghan want to come back to Britain if she hates it so much? My immediate reaction when I heard that the Duchess of Sussex is contemplating gracing us with her presence was why. Ever since she fled to the warm embrace of her mansion in Montecito, she hasn't stopped slagging Britain off. She's made it abundantly clear that she hated her time here. At every turn, in every interview, she has never missed an opportunity to tell the world how god-awful this country is. She said it was racist, old-fashioned, uncaring, unfeeling. Her brief sojourn here has been implied at times as being akin to torture, and no amount of free houses, hot and cold running staff, diamond tiaras or lavish taxpayer-funded weddings could offset the sheer horror of what she seemingly had to endure. So why come here, Duchess, if you hate it so much? Then Sarah goes on to say the answer is simple and glaringly obvious. After nearly 6 years in America, the royal fairy dust is finally wearing off. The clock has struck midnight, and the lavish bandwagon she's been riding high on has finally turned back into a pumpkin. So, I mean, I think Sarah asks a very good question there. Why would she want to come back to this country? But I don't know whether we want her back here. Do we? Should she come back? Do we? I don't know. I don't know whether she should come back. I'm a bit with Gary on it, but no, I don't want her to come back. Actually, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't. She called me a racist. Well, not personally, but I took it personally. And I thought she was great when she first arrived. How dare she say that we judged her on her colour? How dare she say that? To be honest with you, and this is going to probably sound really terrible, I didn't even realise that she was a person of colour. I watched her in Suits. Was it Suits? Anyway, whatever it was. I thought she was really good in that. I thought the programme was great. I loved it. So I was a bit shocked. But do you think that, would you welcome them back? And if they came back, and she's planning sort of to test the waters by coming back for the Invictus Games, will she get a warm welcome, do you think? And do you think that they should come back here and what would it be like if they came back to live here? I mean, I can't imagine Kate and William being in love with that idea. But look, do you think that they should come back? The whole point with Archie and Lilibet, I remember the debacle over Lilibet. Archie, who's now 6 years old, was born on May 2019. Last met his granddad, King Charles, in 2022 when he was 3. So he has met his granddad, but Lilibet, I think, has she only met him once? Yeah, so they have met him, but they don't know him. And they don't know her father either, I don't know. Is he still alive? I know. Stephen says, I'm the biggest fan of Harry and Meghan. I'd welcome them with open arms, kisses and gifts. I love them so much, my favourite royals. I think that might be a bit of sarcasm. I'm reading that as sarcasm. Do you mean it, Stephen? possibly. I mean, I know people love them. I loved Harry as well. I don't know why they turned on us. I thought it was a bit rude. I thought it was completely unnecessary. I can't. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm not very good at forgiving people. That's it. That is my toxic trait. I'm just not. You can take me so far, but there's a line, and I won't tell you where it is, but there is a line, and if you cross it, that's it. Gone. Grace is in London. Hello, Grace. Good morning.
Hi.
How are we today?
Well, I'm very blessed, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm all right, actually. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to sleeping tomorrow, hopefully. But anyway, Grace, what do you think? I mean, you know, to forgive is divine and all of that. So would you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that what they've done is as egregious as some people seem to think that it is. But also, I do think that forgiveness is really important. I mean, some people will make the point that it's good for our own psyche to be able to forgive and to let go of things. I kind of feel from a Christian perspective that because I'm conscious that God offers all of us forgiveness that we don't deserve, therefore we ought to try to be forgiving towards others ourselves.
Well, not all of us. Not all of us. Well, I don't believe in God, so He wouldn't forgive me.
Well, I'm not trying to
perjury,
be putting upon. That wasn't what I was intending to do. I'm saying I believe that He offers forgiveness to people, and therefore it's good for us to be forgiving towards others. But I'm well aware that many people don't believe, and you've got your entitlement to decide for yourself. Because I personally am talking about myself, I feel conscious that I am flawed in various ways, and yet I believe that forgiveness is offered. That makes me want all the more to try to be forgiving towards other people. But I'm not necessarily always great at it, but it's what I'm aspiring to be better at, is to be forgiving.
I don't know. I just think that I'm not very good at forgiving. I mean, I don't hang on to a grudge. You're just dead to me. That's it. That's my level of not forgiving. It doesn't burn me up inside. It doesn't upset me. I don't feel bad about it. I give people chances. You know, they blow that. That's it. They're gone. But I just think that what these two people did was just unnecessarily nasty. And you know, they're saying that they want apologies from us, but where's their forgiveness, right?
Yeah. I think personally, I find most frustrating that when Meghan first came on the scene, I knew that she'd been involved with organisations like World Vision, which is genuinely really helping people in our world who are in some of the most dire poverty. And so I thought, this is fantastic. There'll be someone in the royal family who, amongst their various charitable endeavours, will be raising the profile of people beyond our island who are facing really, really horrendous hardship, more than we can imagine here. So I was really excited
Me
that she was
too.
going to do that.
Me too, Grace. I genuinely thought, here is this astonishing woman, you know, a grown-up, lived a life outside of the royal family. She can bring something really fresh, really intelligent, and really powerful to the role that she's got. And like you said, with charities and things, I think she would have been incredible.
And she just kind of ended up showing off her luxurious wealth and promoting expensive
fashion brands
that no one needs.
That was so disappointing, because I genuinely thought she was gonna change it. She was gonna make it brilliant, right?
Yeah, and fans of hers will say, "Oh, well, look at Archwell," but when I do look at the Archwell website, it's not apparent to me what she is actually doing other than connecting with existing charities so that she can get a few photos. And that sounds so cynical of me. I just think she's got a Netflix program. She had a podcast on Spotify. She had a platform that I could only dream of.
I know.
To be able to raise awareness of people in really difficult circumstances who are overlooked, and she didn't use that opportunity. And I can't imagine having that opportunity, and she just wants to spend it on
making jam,
celebrities and making it just seems such a waste.
I 100% agree with you, and I don't think I've ever really felt more let down by somebody that I don't know, because I like you was thinking, wow, this woman's going to be a firebrand. She is going to, she's going to be like Diana on steroids, right? She's going to have a voice because she isn't Diana. She wouldn't be the future queen. She would have just been the spare, and she's got more freedom to speak and to do things and to really say what is going on in the world, and she chose not to, and that is for me, I find that pretty unforgivable, actually.
Yeah, and I think people increasingly are very cynical and frustrated by celebrities and people who have a lot of wealth showing off about supposed connections to charities and using certain flowery language. And I mean, there's all this stuff about compassion that she says, but I think people look at her and some other famous figures and they think, okay, but you've got this enormous house, and what are you actually doing whilst we typical everyday Western people don't have all that money, and you're just kind of talking and not. I think it makes people kind of feel frustrated, and I'm not expressing myself very well.
Well, I tell you what I don't like from these celebrities is being preached at by them when you think, well, what have you done? Stop asking me to donate money when what have you? Your donation is appearing on a video. Sorry.
I mean, we can actually as individuals still make a difference, because we can't give as much as they would be able to give, but we could as individuals, sponsor one child, for example. So we can make a bit of a difference. But I think seeing some of these very wealthy people, and she kind of epitomizes it, kind of going on and on about compassion, but still living in incredible luxury. I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem with her living in incredible luxury. I don't, because some people you can't. They've got money, and some people have got money, and some people haven't. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is hypocrisy, and saying that you're a good person without actually being one. Without actually stepping out of that comfort and saying, look, I might live a comfortable lifetime, but I know people who don't. And I want to advocate for them. I want to speak for them. I want to help them, and that is important. I mean, it was like, which disaster was it that she ran down there? Some school shooting, was it Uvalde, where the next day she was there with a photographer. Making sure that she was, taking photographs with grieving parents after their children had been gunned down. I think that was the one. And everybody just went, what are you doing here? With a photographer. You do those kind of things quietly, and you do those kind of things, without a fanfare. And a bit like Queen Camilla, the way she works with domestic abuse victims, which she has done for decades, and not a lot of people really know about it. Well, they do now, but they didn't. So I think, and Princess Anne, who works with an enormous amount of charities, these people are actually doing the work. Yeah, and I think, she could be still kind of very much using her public platform and being very public, but she could be in people's faces in a way that inspires us, rather than using her Netflix show to show off cookery, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree.
If she wants to still have a lot of attention, maybe she could be using that attention to demonstrate getting hands-on and not just hanging out in a expensive house. She could be saying to the public who are watching her, this is what we can all do, rather than actually using the platform she has to create more lifestyle content. We don't need more lifestyle content.
No.
It's just so
no, but that actually just shows her true depth. I mean, with Diana, the Princess Diana, one of the most remarkable things that she did was to hold the hand, that very famous photograph of her holding the hand of the AIDS sufferer, which fundamentally changed public perception of people with AIDS. That is the power that these women, these people, could have. And that was a very simple thing, but a very, very powerful one. It's the same as that image of Diana walking through landmines. We can all see that image in our heads, right? We haven't seen it for years, but we can all see it in our mind. So those are the powerful things that Meghan Markle could have been doing, but hasn't done, which I think proves that it was right for her to leave the royal family, or part of it, and go away. But you are more forgiving than me, Grace, so you know I'll take that on board. Grace, thank you very much indeed. I just think I'm really disappointed by her. It's just kind of like, oh, come on, love, you can do better than that. She's not dumb. Well, I didn't think she was anyway. Quick break, back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning. This is Talk, and this is Talk Back, and this is Petrie. And unusually, because I don't usually talk about the royal family very much, particularly not the personalities within it. My dad was a royal commentator, just to put this into context, for the BBC, and so God, it was so boring. He would just talk about the royal family constantly, especially when he had a big commentary coming up. And he did a lot of research, which he liked to share with his children. So I probably have a knowledge of the royal family that I really don't want. I'm a little bit with Gary when he said that. He said, I don't really care. But thinking about it, I care if they are going to come back to this country and we have to pay for them. That I do care about that, because Harry is still trying to get his security paid for by the British taxpayer. Now, these people are seriously wealthy. They are multi-millionaires. They got the sort of money that we could just about dream of, right? Why can't they pay for their own security? Well, I don't understand it. They don't do any royal functions. They don't do anything for this country. They don't do... what do they do for us? And yet they want to come back here and have us pay for security for them. That really, really annoys me, especially when they called us racist and horrible and all the other things that they've called us. It's just not on. It's not on, frankly. Jackie says, totally agree with you about Meghan Markle. Like you and most people, we welcomed her initially when she got married to Harry. Not so now. since she was so disingenuous about the UK and the royal family. Yeah, don't forget, she was rude about them as well. So give me a call on this. Would you welcome them back? Do you think we should pay for their security? 0344. I mean, the kids, yeah. I suppose that's fair enough. I think that Archie is 6th or 7th in line to the throne. So I think, you know, yeah, Archie and Lilibet, we'll protect them. They're actual royals, right? But Harry and Meghan, they can pay for their own. 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at the national rate, but we call you straight back. And text the word talk and your message to 87222. Just before I go back to the phones, there's some breaking news here. The US Senate Republicans voted against a resolution that would have barred President Donald Trump from further military action in Venezuela without Congress's authorization, after the Republican president put pressure on party members who had supported it. The vote was 51-50 for a point of order that blocked the War Powers resolution, as just 3 of Trump's Republicans voted with every Democrat in favour of moving ahead, and the Vice President J.D. Vance came to the Capitol to break the tie. So the gloves are off with Trump. He can do what he likes, he can bomb who he likes, he can steal presidents from other countries, even if they're loathsome creeps. He can do what he wants. That is just going to empower him even more with Greenland. Extraordinary. Could not make, what is the point? Couldn't make it up. Could not make it up. Right, let's get back to the calls now. And Tony is in Lancashire. Good morning, Tony. How are you?
Morning, Petrie. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. What do you think about Meghan Markle and Harry coming back to this country?
You know, it makes me mad. She does. Well, you just explained it all earlier on. Like she shouldn't get nothing. Like, she used to race this card, you know, like you were explaining earlier on. Not only that, don't forget, she tried to do a Diane, didn't she? Or even Harry, what do you call them? What's that bloody word? Them with people with always taking photos. Paparazzi.
The paparazzi, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one where he's supposed to have an accent, trying to play that, and I think she's disgusting herself. I hope she stays where she bloody is, really.
Yeah, that was in that. Do you know? Oddly, that was in New York. With the Paps, and a lot of people said it didn't happen. It actually didn't happen. But also, one of the reasons that she said for leaving the UK and going to America was the uncontrolled nature of the paparazzi. Well, we know that the paparazzi is now better controlled, particularly with the royals.
But the thing is, so what you just explained there, is there not a lot worse in America than England?
A lot worse. A lot worse.
Stick or what on that subject?
Yeah, because of the First Amendment, there is no controlling the Paps in America. So they're everywhere and they behave any way they want to. There's just
and not only that. Don't forget, they turned their back on us when they decided to go. So they left everything. They turned their back on us. That's the way I see it. So she shouldn't get any, like you were explaining earlier on, security and all that lot. They shouldn't get it. Why should we have to pay? Well, if you want to come here, pay out your own bloody money.
Well, they've certainly got enough of it, and they've made that off the back of the royal heritage of Harry. But, I mean, Harry's just as bad, right? I mean, we used to love Harry, but...
Yeah, at one point, but I blame Meghan for all that. I blame Meghan.
No, he's got to take responsibility. He's a grown man. He can take responsibility.
Yeah, but I don't think he had the balls to say no. I'm sorry about putting it that way, but I don't think he did. I think he would just say, oh, yeah, but, you know, a nice girlfriend and all that lot. Probably for first time, you know, you get sucked into things.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely influence there, but I do kind of I just also think that he's a grown man and should take responsibility for his own actions, and his own actions have not been brilliant either. I mean, you know, the way that they've snubbed the king, or then he says he wants to meet with the king, and then he doesn't want to meet with the king.
Yeah, but the thing is, another thing what you explained earlier on, Petrie, look at the difference between Kate, Kathleen. and Meghan. Right, Caitlin's doing a lot more what Meghan's doing. Meghan wants to be all this, the HRH. Well, why don't you do same jobs as what Kate's doing? But she doesn't want to do them all.
No, she was quoted as saying that she didn't see why she should have to do them without getting paid.
There you go. So she shouldn't have the HRH in my eyes. If you don't want to do it, then you don't deserve that.
No, I absolutely agree. I think that if you don't want to be part of the royal family, then don't. You know, just
so don't go slagging off the family and everything else.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, the poor Queen had to put up with that, and she apparently was really upset.
Yeah.
That the little girl was called Lilibet.
I bet she was dying to say stuff, but she can't.
Well, not anymore. But yeah, no, it's a really tricky one, this, because there'll be a lot of people say yes, but Archie and Lilibet are prince and princesses. Like I said, I think he's either 6th or 7th in line to the throne. You know, he and Lilibet are royals by birth. Harry is a royal by birth.
Yeah, to be honest, I would go when Kate and William get sick and their kids. To be honest, because the way Harry and Meghan's treated us, that's it. Like you said, you're out, you're gone. You've crossed that line. Bugger off now. See you later.
Yeah. Well, what about people who do want them to come back? Would you go and see them if they came to your town, for example?
No, I'd go and see Kate and Will if they came to my town. With 100 respect, I'd even put a suit on just to show, and I'd even have the thing words on what you call it, the Remembrance Day and all that lot.
Yeah. You'd still do all of that for them, but not for.
Not for Harry and Meghan, because they don't have any respect for us, so I want to show any respect for them.
I mean, I think that's fair enough. I do, Tony. Thank you very much indeed. So that's Tony in Lancashire there. He's not having it. And I kind of get that. I just think that it is not. It's not on the way they've treated us. And then if they do want to come back and they want us to pay for their security, I'm happy to pay for it for the kids. Well, yeah, I'm happy to pay for it for the kids. Why not? But for her and him, no, they can pay for their own. They're really, 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 really rich. So give me a call, 0344 499 1000. G-Bus has simply said she's greedy and Harry is an idiot. Sam said, hi Petrie, good to know you're back on at normal times. Yes. Yeah, we're all very happy about that. Megan, the trouble I have is I compare her to the late Queen, the way she held herself, the dignity and compassion. There is just no comparison. I can accept that she's Harry's choice, but I genuinely don't think she'd ever be happy back in the UK, full stop. We, however, could give her care less. Thank you for your language there, Samantha. So that's from Sam, also in Lancashire. Quick break, back in a sec.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning. It is Talk, and this is Talk Back, so it is absolutely your opportunity to do that, because it's an hour, it's a full hour dedicated to you and to your views and to your opinions in this case, and we're talking about, very unusually for me, as you know, if you're a regular listener, we're talking about Harry and Meghan, right? I'd normally be talking about, war or something like that, but it is Wednesday. We've got the good news, and I'm back to the normal hours. So I just thought we'd do something a little bit lighter for the. Well, it's Thursday now, isn't it? But for the end of the week. So I'm asking about Harry and Meghan because it looks like there are rumours that they might want to come back to the UK. Now, whether that's just for a visit or to come back and live here, I don't know. America's not a very happy place at the moment, so maybe it could be that. But is it the case that you would welcome them back, given they kind of let us down a bit, haven't they? They weren't very nice about us. She called me a racist, not personally, but I took it personally. And nothing could be further from the truth, and nothing could be further than what I thought of her when she first arrived. I thought she was marvellous. I thought she was wonderful. I thought, thank goodness we've got somebody, with a bit of a backbone in the royal family who can actually do something and say something and be something. So she kind of let me down, really, in a way. But it depends. What would their role be? How would they fit in? Would they expect us to fund them? They'd certainly expect us to fund the security, and I do think the children do deserve that security because they are royal. They are royal family, right? But he will only let them come back if he's satisfied that we're paying for his security, basically. And I don't think we should pay for his security. I don't. I think one of the problems that he's got is that if he brought security with him, they would not be allowed to carry guns. And he thinks that he should have armed officers protecting him. So his security teams wouldn't be allowed to carry firearms. So I sort of get that, but I don't know when the last time a member of the royal family was attacked. So I'm not sure that is the threat that he thinks it is. But would you welcome them back? That's the question that I'm asking. Martin has called in from London. Hello, Martin.
Morning, Petrie. Long time no speak.
Long time. How are you?
I'm not bad, actually. I've had a great day. I bought some sausages from the butcher's, and they were superb. They were garlic and spinach.
Oh, that sounds nice.
I've had 8 sausages today. All I did is I put 2 on, and I just kept putting them on. And they made me feel just joyful.
Do you know, one of my favourite meals in the world is bangers, mash and onion gravy.
Oh, I don't love it.
It is. I don't think it can be beaten.
It's lovely.
It is the best thing. And actually, you know what? Those sausages that you just eaten, all 8 of them, they're probably really healthy from a butcher's, right?
Very healthy. This is the thing. I can't eat. I can't go to a pub and have a sausage because you just don't know where it's all a cat.
They're not sausages, are they? They're bits of.
It's a little bit expensive, but I don't mind that because they're so good.
I agree. Especially, I don't eat meat very often, but when I do, I buy it expensively and smaller amounts and enjoy it, and I know it's good.
Yeah.
And I know it hasn't been halal killed, which is more important to me. Anyway, what do we think of Harry and Meghan coming back here?
Oh, I've got to admit to you, Petrie, they bore me, them two.
Mm.
They bore. I don't want to read about them. I don't want to hear about them. I don't want to hear what his latest comments are. I just want William and Kate to take the throne, to be honest.
Do you?
I do. I want Charles to go. Abdicate, man. You're just a lunatic. He's talking to his plant.
Well, I talk to my dogs and my cat.
Well, I talk to myself.
Well, that's good company, though, isn't it, Martin?
Yeah, because you get that back.
Yeah, at least that's a sensible conversation, right? Yeah, no, I don't think Charles will abdicate, although there are rumours about continuing about his health. But
I don't think he'll abdicate. He'll stay till he dies.
Well, he won't have very long, will he? I mean, he's already, what is he, in his 70s now?
Well, his mum lived long, didn't she?
That's true. They do tend to, don't they? A life of privilege.
But she was brilliant. I missed the Queen. She was superb.
She really was, wasn't she? Bless her heart. 77, Charles is. So actually, that's not that old, is it? Not for a royal.
Again, with Harry, Charles, I just can't. I want Kate and William in. They fill me with joy. Just look at them. I think they're very good for the country as well. William and Kate. I think they give the country an uplift.
They certainly seem. I mean, certainly the image that is portrayed is an absolutely joyful one, isn't it? It's sort of quite normal. We know they're not normal, but quite a normal family, and you know she's done everything she can to actually be a parent to her children, and you know, instead of, I'm sure they had nannies to help, but you know it feels like they're properly parent, doesn't it? It feels like they're closer to us in normality than Charles and Camilla.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt.
But I'm with you with Harry and Meghan, which is why it's so unusual for me to do a phone-in like this, because it's literally like they've just, I think they've gone too far, and now it's just go away, just stay away, don't bother.
Well, I totally agree with that. Just I mean, I don't buy newspapers, but if I'm in a supermarket and I see a newspaper headline with them two, I'd rather spend money buying poison than buy that newspaper. How can you read about these non-entities?
Well, non-entities that insulted every single one of us in this country.
Yeah.
I mean, literally insulted us and laughed at us and laughed at the royal family, and you know, that whole thing she did about curtsying to the Queen, that was so embarrassing.
Oh, don't.
Yeah, I think they should just go away as well. I'm with you, Martin. So, more sausages tomorrow, or is that it for this week?
Well, I've got pork chops for tomorrow.
From the same butcher?
Yeah.
Nice. How are you going to cook them?
Pork chops fried with onions.
Ooh. To mash?
A little bit of gravy to soften them up.
Lovely. Mash?
Yeah, well, I'm 18 stone, so I'm trying to stay off with the bread and the potatoes.
Oh, so you're doing more carnivore?
Well, I do eat potato. I have chips once a week, so I get my protein out of that. But I'm 18 stone, and it's not looking too good now because I can cover it up in the winter, my big coat. But in the summer, when I've got my tight t-shirt on, I don't get that many glances.
When you've got your bikini on. It's Oh, Martin. Well, listen, you enjoy your pork chops. All I want now is bang and smashing onion gravy. I mean, I'm just obsessed with it now. I'm definitely going to be making that tomorrow. Right, let's talk to John. Thanks, Martin. You take care. John is in Staffordshire. Hello, John.
Hiya, good morning.
Good morning. What do you think about these two potentially coming back?
Personally, I don't think that we should take them back as part of the royal family, to be totally honest with you. I know they're still called the Sussexes, but I don't think we should. And at the end of the day, if he wants to visit his dad, I don't even think James Hewitt lives in England anymore.
Now. I thought that was disproved. That it was James
I
Hewitt.
very much doubt that.
Do you know, I went out for dinner with James Hewitt once.
And doesn't he look like Harry?
Yeah. I mean, this is before we knew about Diana and Hewitt. By the way,
fair one. Personally, I watched a lot of documentaries about Meghan Markle and the Oprah Winfrey interview and all that sort of thing. And I personally just think that without putting myself in a position of being in trouble, I think she's a venomous person, and she's ruined any chances of them coming back to the UK.
I mean, look, I think that she's come across as a spiteful, mean girl.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that might be a trait that we know is a big thing in America, right? We see all these movies with these spiteful, mean girls at school and stuff like that. But it's not really something that we admire here.
No, I totally agree.
I thought that some of the interviews that she's done, she has really come across as spiteful and mean, and just very belittling of us in Britain. The whole thing was just like, well, what did we ever? What, really, were we that bad? Really?
I'm going to say something which probably a lot of people will agree with. I think everybody at this when she first came on the scene with Harry, I think the first thing everybody thought was, oh, good for him.
Yeah.
Oh, she seems lovely. She's been a total turncoat because she couldn't get her own way.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all did, right? I don't know anybody that was like, oh, I don't really like her. And honestly, when she started going on about us being racist, I had not even, I mean, not that it would have bothered me anyway, either way, but I'd never even thought of her as a woman of colour. So I thought, well, how could people be racist? It just didn't occur. I just thought it was a really strange thing at the time. But I don't think we are that.
I would say that probably 99% of people in the country would not have said that she was a person of colour when they first saw her.
Yeah, but I also don't think that we would have hated her if she had been, or she was, and she is.
I would have thought it would have been a good thing to have a person of colour in the British royal family.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think she twisted it totally on its head.
Yeah.
And made an issue of it when there was never an issue there.
We all started turning against her when she turned against us. And then it was, I think, for her it became a race issue. Oh, they hate me because I'm black. And it's like, no, we don't like you because of the way you're behaving. There's this, we're not going to accept that. And also, she wanted to be paid to do royal duties. She was like, couldn't believe that she wasn't getting paid to go and meet the public. And it's like, well, you do get paid. You get staff, you get a free house, you get money. You don't get paid as well.
Can I sum up in 2 words?
Go on.
Without swearing. Spoilt brat.
Yep. I think I'll buy that. She's clearly been she's had beauty privilege, whatever it's called, her whole life. she is exceptionally beautiful, and I think that affords some people an easier life. And I think that that's what pretty privilege it's called.
I do think if they come back to this country, and I seriously think that the law has to be, and I think William and Kate are absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't call myself a royalist, but I do think they will be a good king and queen.
Yeah.
Because they're well liked, they're very good with what they do as royals.
Yeah.
Basically, they do a lot of work. William himself has gone out and proved himself. He's been a helicopter pilot in the RAF, doing the air sea rescue.
And he actually did stuff. I've heard, and yes, also the air sea rescue work, which was
exactly.
I've got if I had to say which ones I like, I think they seem nice. They seem nice.
I think he's one of the nicest royals I've seen in my lifetime, and I'm 56 now, and I quite like King Charles, I should say. I like the Queen. I quite like Prince Philip.
Yeah, I liked Philip as well, because he was just so random. You never knew what he was going to say next. John, thank you. Great call. Hey, listen, how would you like to win the trip of a lifetime? to San Francisco. Talk is giving away flights, a 3-night stay at a 4-star intercontinental hotel, and £2.5 worth of spending money, plus tickets to the Super Bowl to top it all off. Here's how you can enter.
For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at TalkSport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, and a very good morning to you. I've got some breaking news for you here. First of all, the British government is advising against all but essential travel to Israel. So all but essential travel to Israel, they're advising against that. And the Iranian update is that Iran has temporarily closed its airspace to all flights except international ones to and from Iran itself. And this was with official permission at 5:15 p.m. ET. That's it was 10:15 GMT on Wednesday, according to a notice posted on the Federal Aviation Administration's website. The prohibition of those flights, and you can see it if you've got one of those flight watchers, the planes are all going around Iran currently. The prohibition is set to last for more than 2 hours. Until 00:30 GMT or 7:30 p.m. ET, Eastern Time. But it could be, of course, it could be extended. This is a worrying development. and could indicate that either Iran is planning a strike first, and Israel, of course, would be in the crosshairs, or that Trump could be planning to strike. So that is the very latest news, is that Iran has temporarily closed its airspace to all flights except international ones to and from Iran itself. There'll be more on that, presumably for breakfast in the morning here on Talk. But also as well, all but essential travel to Israel, the British government has advised against. So there you go, things hotting up in the Middle East, unfortunately. Right, you're with Petrie and until the top of the hour, and we've been talking about the much less important story of Meghan and Harry, and should they be allowed back into the UK. But I think it's quite a good distraction, actually, from all that stuff that I've just informed you of. Sean says, I honestly believe that Harry and Meghan made the decision to leave the royal family and the UK to protect their young family after what happened to Harry's mother, Princess Diana, which, let's be honest, most people would make that decision if you were in their shoes. I would 100% welcome them back. And that's Sean in Liverpool. Stephen, who I accused of being sarcastic earlier, said, I meant what I said. No sarcasm. It's a new year. I believe we should forgive people that have done wrong, make up and forget. And that's from Stephen, as I said. Okay, I'm sorry I accused you of being sarcastic. Zarina said, Meghan Markle would not be welcomed by me or most people I know. She's a grasper and he, Harry, is a traitor. I applaud the lady in the crowd who turned her back on Markle. She had the courage of her convictions. Sadly, if the expectation is to pay for them whilst they're here, it fills me with anger. Another one here saying, absolutely delighted you're back to your normal slots where you should be. I always look forward to being able to listen to your interesting, informative, honest shows Monday to Wednesday. Wish it was more often. FYI, I'm watching you on my TV via the LG channel 1989. I didn't know there was an LG channel 1989. There you go. Mike from Newcastle says, it's not good enough, Petrie. You should be on 10 till 1, 7 days a week. No time off. Thought you liked me, Mike. But thank you for the compliment. I really do appreciate it. And like I said, I've really been appreciative of you putting up with all the changes and all the mess. You've been brilliant, and it means a lot. And Ernie says, when Harry met Meghan, and asked her to marry him, I thought how brilliant this will be for the royal family. A beautiful woman who was a much-loved actress by the American people who loved our royal family, and a much-loved prince who was a hero in my eyes for his military service. How wrong was I? She disowned her father, who brought her up on his own, probably sacrificing a lot to do that over something trivial. She made Harry go to America with her, basically cutting off from his father and family. She weaponised their children and kept them away from the British people who probably would have loved to watch them grow up. She killed off a fairy tale I was much looking forward to. Never mind, we still have William and Kate. And no, I don't think many people would welcome Meghan back to Britain. She's burned all of her bridges, I think. That's from Ernie. That's very well written, Ernie. I like that. It's very good. Benjamin said, wow, your discussion with Jamal, which was at the beginning of the programme, if you missed it, it will be out at the top of the hour in the podcast. So you'll be able to listen to it if you did miss it. It is worth listening to. Benjamin said it was epic and some of the best exchanges on radio in a long time. Well done, Petrie. You spoke for millions of us sick and tired of President Trump and his global disruption. Thank you so much. Benjamin, thank you. I'm, again, incredibly appreciative of those sorts of comments. So, yes, if you missed that interaction, quite feisty, it will be on the podcast and it's on YouTube as well, but podcast wherever you get your podcast from. So, but do check it out. It's all right. Jamie is in the Wirral. Hello, Jamie. How are you this morning?
Hi. Good morning. I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
Good. What are you up to at this time in the morning?
I'm sat in a truck, so I drive trucks in the evenings now to make a little bit of money.
Good for you. Excellent. And I'm glad that I was able to keep you company through that. That always makes me happy. What do you think about the Black Sheep Royals? There's plenty of them, actually, but Harry and Meghan.
I've actually sat here with my blood boiling a little bit by some of the lack of evidential, opinions that are coming out. The Sussexes have never actually, and there is no evidence to say that they have called the British public racist. And actually, conversely, Harry on the Oprah Winfrey Show said that he believed the British people were not bigoted in any way. What he said was that the tabloid had racial undertones and had treated and I think if you look at if anybody's ever watched the Netflix documentary on them, there is a huge amount of evidence to show that is exactly the way it was. I'm also a military veteran of 26 years, so maybe there's a bit of military bias towards Harry here. But, one of your previous callers said, William's the greatest, guy I've ever seen. He'll make a great king, and his service. The guy was an RAF search and rescue pilot. He never saw operational service. Harry saw operational service and was the first royal to do so since, I believe, it was Prince Andrew.
Prince Andrew in the Falklands, yeah.
Now this individual, Harry first deployed to Afghanistan. He was on the ground as a soldier.